Starting. Oh, there we are. We're live now. So, anyone watching, future or present, welcome. I am the terrible host, Bflummy. Assuming that the internet cooperates with us, we'll hopefully have a good game here. This is session one of what I'd like to call a three-shot. There's a lot of one-shots, but I don't like short stories, so we're gonna try to make it a bit longer. So hopefully this will be able to finish this in the coming months or however long it takes. But I'm joined by a rowdy bunch of adventurous heroes. Like them to introduce themselves. We'll start from my left to right, and that would be Brad.
Hey guys, my name's Brad. I'll be playing Dan, the draconic sorcerer, and his current state is he's basically just a wandering researcher at the moment. So he's out to find some new information on some stuff he can log in his books and his scrolls, and hopefully stay alive long enough to present it to somebody.
Very nice. All right, Dave, that would be you next.
Hey folks, I'm Dave with Mornblade Gaming, and I'm going to go out on a limb and play a druid. I don't play nature characters very often, but thankfully for you all, I won't be going all natural. In this case, be playing a halfling druid, and we'll see what happens. Tally's his name, and protecting nature is his game. Thanks for having me back, Brigham. Good to play with you guys again, and looking forward to finally playing with my wife online.
It's a dangerous sport. Yeah, I forgot to mention I have played with these guys before. If you like what you're seeing here, we had a one-shot Bite of Extinction. Fortunately, we didn't have Dave's wife there, but it was still good. Next on the chain of events is Micheal Pierce. If you'd like to give us an intro.
Sure. I'm Micheal Pierce. Like you said, I was in Bite of Extinction, and I will be playing Zorium Fromm, a high elf rogue. I've never played a rogue before, so we're gonna see how this goes, and you'll be getting to meet him. I don't want to spoil any surprises. So, and also I have my channel Micheal Pierce that you can just type in that name, Micheal Pierce, and it should pop up. But it's no big deal. And Brigham is probably going to try to halt the entire podcast to tell you about it or something. But anyway, so yeah, good. It is great to see you guys again.
Yeah, I will not halt the podcast because you did properly recognize your channel. I get like half of my funding from Micheal Pierce. So, we have to make sure he gets his pick in. One more time. I cannot pronounce the name to save my life.
My name is Yvonne.
Yvonne, okay. Good work on that.
Well, over time, maybe it'll come to you, and it'll be easier to pronounce. I'm guessing it is my turn. I am playing Lanera Feeblefoot. She is a monk of Halfling Persuasion, and she is the first monk I'm actually playing. So this is going to be a brand new type of character for me. So please be kind. I don't have a channel. I mean, I have YouTube, but I don't have a channel. So this is me, and I look forward to the game.
All right, great. So I realized I didn't say what I was calling all of this stuff, which is probably bad PR. So this is gonna the overarching name is Preserved Tears. We'll get into why that's important later, mostly because I thought it sounded cool. But the first session I'm going to go on a limb and name it. The timer starts, and we'll just jump right in then and get started. So, whether or not you guys have met each other before, you probably haven't. Maybe encountered each other briefly. It's a big jungle, though, so there's a lot of places you can go to avoid, other people. But you have all somehow managed to get summons to the estate of well, I guess estate's the right word. The tribe of Tai Tehran. Say, don't know. It was cat folk, but they updated and called it Tabaxi or something like that in Volo's guide. But we'll say cat folk for now because I like that name better. And whether you have come, maybe volunteered because you were interested in these people, you have all ended up together, and you've never been to an execution before, but you almost imagine that this is what it would be like. There's a lot of these very large lion-like people who are sort of escorting you or watching you as they approach this ruined building. There's a lot of ruins in the jungles here, and sometimes catfolk tribes or other creatures will take over one of these abandoned ruins and use it for their own. But you're entering sort of this big hall. Like I said, this is probably the first time you've seen each other. What might your reactions be? Well, I'll pick on someone specifically. Well, I'll ask Dave. What might your reactions be being escorted into this hall with these other people around you?
So, Tally is curious but reserved by nature. I know the two don't typically go together, but he likes to consider himself a one that likes to take in the occasion as he sees it. And he is definitely, as most halflings would, looking up, watching as they go in, wide-eyed at the culture. Lots of it is not necessarily surprising, but what is surprising to him is this hall and the sheer craftsmanship that went into it, because as they approach it and get closer, he can see the love and effort that went into it, not to mention the probably, if he were to make a guess, centuries of additions that have gone into it. It has stood the test of time, even where other ruins have not. And so, while he looks around a lot, he may go wide-eyed. His expression is somewhat bland. He doesn't seem to give off what he's thinking, whether... but every now and again, you'll see a slight amusement come across his face as he's looking, and he keeps trying to speak to the other halfling that seems to be with them, but she's even more reserved than he is, and he picked up on that very early. So he's kind of given himself to just sort of stick to himself and continue on.
Yeah, and as you're looking about as you get into this hall, you can see in the back there is a sort of raised dais, if that's the right word, with a stone throne that was erected there probably many centuries ago. It's cracked and chipped from its old age, but sitting there on it is an impressively large catfolk. He has a very big mane of hair coming from the back of his lion-like head, and he has several necklaces that have various small creatures' skulls erected or attached, affixed onto it. And this most likely is what you assume to be Tai Turan, the tribal leader of this particular tribe of catfolk. You've probably heard about him multiple times. He's a pretty formidable person in this jungle. Many caravans and such would have to make treaties and bargains with him in order to make sure that they can cross safely through his territory. But he's sitting atop this throne, and somewhere nearby, you can also see a much more skinnier catfolk. He is waiting patiently, and when you guys get up close enough to this throne, this other catfolk speaks up, and not Tai Turan. He says, "Greetings, travelers. Tai Turan would wish you to kneel before we begin speaking. Understand that you are respectful creatures."
Well, I instantly kneel. Also, while I am kneeling, I don't know if you'll have me roll for this, but could I get a general appraisal of the most valuable objects in this hall and room?
Yeah. Using your quick glances, give me a perception check real quick.
Just a second.
Are you going to steal from the cat, bro?
I am not answering that question yet. It depends on what they have, you see.
Party dies first session, murdered by a bunch of catfolk.
I'm not necessarily bringing anyone down with me, per se. Sorry, just a second. I need to... I had forgotten to bring up my dice program that I use. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
But while I'm doing that, someone else can go.
Yeah, I think being generally quite well read and informed of the general area, he would know that he should definitely kneel, and just purely out of respect as well. But just to be clear, have we been like, are we captured and brought to this thing, or have we been?
You probably came willingly.
Okay.
This probably is a great opportunity to learn something about the catfolk. You were told that you would not be killed. I mean, unless you did something stupid. So you were requested to come here. But you almost feel kind of like you've been captured because you've got all these sort of catfolk watching you, and this hall is filled with them. But you are under inclination that you're not going to be harmed here.
Okay. Yeah, so he'll kneel down, and on one knee, and he'd rest his gauntlet on the raised knee and sort of bow his head.
I got a total of 11 for my perception, by the way.
Yeah, so you scan around the room, and the most valuable things are probably not things that are really too valuable to you. You know, this necklace with a bunch of skulls on it is probably something that the catfolk revere, but it's not something that would fetch you a pretty price on a market. Lorene? Is that how you pronounce her name? Lorene?
Lanera.
Ah, I'm so bad with names. What do you do?
They're all in chat, I think. If you need it.
I saw them and I wrote them down, and like I can't even pronounce it when I have it there.
I think it's a family problem because he's not the only one in his family who has trouble with this sort of thing.
So what Lanera is doing is, she understands the respectfulness of this entire procession, and she definitely, bows and shows her respect as well.
And that would leave us with Versi. That's Brad's character. Tally. I think I can pronounce that one, hopefully.
Yeah, Tally is actually kind of taken aback. He is kind of squirming at the moment because he had actually been weary of coming because of their strange customs, which he didn't fully understand. He had met a catfolk named Drogon at one time, and had actually fought beside him out of by chance. And as he's looking around nervously, trying to figure out what to do, he sees him and he sets his eyes on him and kind of settles, because in Tally's mind, he doesn't bow to anyone he doesn't respect. But when he sees Drogon, he remembers the time that they had saving these animals that were being bred in captivity. And as he does so, he kind of cocks his head to the side and nods to him, and Drogon nods back to him, and he kneels down and offers up respect. But what they don't see is he's actually tying a shoe.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Yeah. So as you all take a knee here in front of the dais, this sort of wiry, thinner catfolk at the side of the dais looks towards the Tyteron. You expect that this is probably like an advisor or something. You don't know many catfolk that speak common too well, and it's very likely that Tyteron doesn't speak any. So you're going to have this sort of translator by proxy, and Tyteron looks at him and gives a affirming nod, and this wiry advisor sort of nods his head, and you can all get up now. He's placid. All right. I am Ty Duro. I'll be speaking to you mostly because Tyteron is not familiar with your tongue, unfortunately. But you have been brought here under a matter of some urgency, but even though we've openly asked you to come, we'd rather have what you learn here be kept quite quiet, if you understand what I mean. And, go for it. Sorry.
I was just going to say, so what you're asking for is a level of secrecy in respect for your traditions and customs. Fully agree and fully understand.
Maybe not particularly customs. You can talk about our customs as much as you like. No, we have sort of a, what do you guys call it? A quest, mission, favor, something along that sort. We want
adventure.
Adventure? I'm not familiar with that word, but perhaps yes. Sorry, even though I'm decently well versed in your tongue, there's still much that I have to learn.
Can I, because I actually know Tabaxi, can I, in an attempt to get on his good side, begin speaking to him in his own tongue?
Yeah, you could do that, definitely.
Okay. I want to say to him, and abruptly I just start speaking rather excitedly. as though I'm very excited to try this out, I begin speaking to him in Tabaxi and say, "Oh, it's okay. I can act as interpreter for my new friends here, who are all lined up. Of course, I don't know any of you, but you're my friends now, and I'm more than happy to act as interpreter for all of these fellows here." I say, and stand there expectantly.
Can you make a let's go with persuasion if you have it.
Oh, do I ever? And I just rolled a natural 20.
Oh, okay.
I am so proud of myself. Do you want me to add the other things to it, or?
No, that will be sufficient.
Okay.
I know you have a bonus to that on top of it.
Okay.
I did not. For some reason, I didn't plan that something like this was going to happen, but I'm excited that it is.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
Sir.
So this Ty Duro, this advisor, sort of looks to Ty Turan, and he definitely looks surprised when you first start speaking in his tongue, but then it's the weirdest thing ever. If you've ever kind of heard like a cat sneeze or something like that, imagine something like that, but it takes you a little bit. He's laughing. This giant, big guy on the throne. He's somewhat amused by this, and he accepts your offer with a slow nod, and begins to talk to you directly. And just for the sake of not wanting to have boring repetitions, I'll just speak for him and assume that you, Zurim, relay everything. If there's something specific you want to leave out because you're a jerk, you can do that. I'm not assuming you will, but just make note of that. You do have them sort of in a bit of a dangerous situation, but at the same time, you know that the advisor over there can speak common, so maybe you shouldn't. You should refrain from spinning lies at the moment.
Well, he is an elf and a rogue, so just saying.
It's a dangerous combination.
Just let me know. Just let me know what the information is, and I'll let you know if I want to take horrifying control of the situation.
All right.
Oh, Lord, he's going to interpret it as, you must go up to the chieftain and then clean him as a cat would clean itself. Just one lick, though.
Whole party dies.
He wants all of you to assist me in testing how good his security is for protecting all of his valuables. He wants us to do this, you see.
Why do I have a feeling the rogue is going to get us killed?
Okay, so this big Ty Turan, he stands up to speak to you now because he's actually talking. He's puts his hands behind his back. It's kind of weird to see someone so huge in almost like a contemplative position, pose. That's the right word. And he says, "My wife has taken quite ill, and there is nothing that we have been able to do for her. We need help of some kind beyond our knowledge, as I hate to admit that we might, but it is an unfortunate situation."
I do relay all of this, but I would like to note that I am adding poetic embellishments to things. It's not falsifying any of the information, but I am being like, his His beautiful cat wife of 50 years is ill, Lane. Oh, how terrible. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, you look over and you see Ty Duro, that advisor, sitting there, and he's got a very pained expression on. You know, this is very like, oh, bother, this is just quite awful. But yeah, Ty Turan does not understand at all that you might even be slightly mocking him in the way that you're speaking. And he continues, I know that people like you tend to make bargains and deals. So I, Ty Turan, wish to bargain with you for help. And this obviously, if any of you are familiar with the catfolk culture, this is pretty big, especially because it's not someone for the tribe leader. It's the tribe leader himself saying specifically, I need your help and I'm willing to bargain for it.
And once he starts talking about bargaining, my original kind of fanciful posturing that I was doing before drops off, and I become much more literal as I become distinctly interested in what he's more and more interested in, specifically what he's saying there.
What would be a proper bargain?
Well, what have you got? I don't say it that way. Sorry. I almost say it that way. No, I say, well, it's an interesting situation you've placed us in. Or I can't speak for my friends here, but I'm not even sure what you have available to give us in compensation.
We have our knowledge of the surrounding environment and of our territory. We also have things that we have found inside of the ruins here and there. Things that we don't understand. Treasures, I suppose, is the right way to put it.
If I may. And then actually, what I start doing is because Ghostwise halflings have telepathy where you can talk to another person. And so at this point, I speak to the elven rogue and I say, if I may, I suggest that we do the bidding and then take a look at their treasures and choose what we want. And then he's kind of cocking his head over. Oh, I'm right here. And he waves his hand at him.
Oh, yes, because I'm assuming I hear this all in my head and don't realize.
Right.
Yes, and I noticeably jump a little bit, and you say that, and I look over, and once I realize what's going on, which happens pretty quick, I get this really big smile on my face, as though I'm obviously impressed, and I'm like, I like that idea. Let's do that. And I relay this notion to the king figure. Unless anyone else has any other special abilities that can effectively bypass my interpreting skills.
Well, now what I think is funny is the rogue is probably standing there going, can he read my thoughts too?
That actually, it takes me a moment to put that one together, and then I'm secretly horrified inside, but I'm not showing it.
Yeah. So just to clarify, all the ability does is it allows you to send messages in a language we both can communicate in. And if you choose, you can actually try to block me out, but I didn't think under the circumstances you would. But
no. of course, I have no idea that's how it works and that that's a limitation. So now I'm sort of suspicious and stuff of you, but I do think it's cool.
And then all of a sudden you hear in your head
Are
from
you
the other
serious?
halfling, if I may suggest, possibly we find out what it is that they are going to ask of us before we ask for compensation.
I look at Tally first, assuming that that must be Tally again, and am rather confused. And
And you see me waving.
You start waving. I don't smile this time, or my smile is obviously very fake and forced this time, as I'm kind of like, oh, great.
Yeah, Tally's actually just inspecting the quick sketches that the sorcerer thinks he's hiding in his the pursuer of knowledge.
Yeah, and by the way, once I have relayed the information that Lanera has suggested in our bargaining with the king, I then look very expectantly over at Versi as though he's going to start talking in my head too. Does he?
No, I just look at you like, what do you want? Why are you looking at me? I can't understand what you're saying. I know 6 languages, but I don't understand Tabaxi. So, and I don't know that. Yeah, he's just looking at you like, he's like, yeah?
This awkward moment.
Yeah. Long, awkward moment.
Would Verse have any suggestions? On what?
I haven't heard anything that these guys have been saying because it's all been in Zurum's head. So I've only been able to understand what Zurum's spoken to me. That's all. I don't know what's going on at the moment.
Well, mostly.
Well, I'll go ahead and once I realize that he after our awkward moment of non-telepathy, I go ahead and explain what we're thinking, namely that we should probably know what the bidding is and that we could probably take our own look at the treasure that they have afterwards, which is that is an idea I'm all on board for. Did I skip over anything there, or?
No, I was just asking if there was anything you wanted to particularly bargain for at the moment, because I think you did relay, Michael, you did relay that he wanted to bargain and the sort of things that he had at the moment. So just wanted to see if there's anything in particular, Brad, that you wanted to ask for.
In terms of like a reward.
Yeah.
Or,
he said,
firstly, just pretty much just wanted to experience their culture, I guess, and learn as much as he can from them. But he would need Zurum as a interpreter, because he doesn't know Tabaxi, but he just wants to learn as much as he can. Maybe if they've got any scrolls or scripture or anything of any kind. I don't know if that's part of what they do in their culture, if they write things down at all, but he just wants that sort of thing. He's not really looking for, weapons or a mass amount of gold or anything like that. He's more interested in the knowledge.
All right. Keep that in mind. So I assume you relay to Taitaron. You want to know specifically what you're up against here. All right. So he nods his head sort of understandingly. He may be a big, strong, buff guy, but he's not completely stupid. He realizes he's kind of put you in a very awkward situation. And sorry, just reading the chat. That's my fault. Shouldn't do that while I'm trying to talk. But he turns to Ty Duro, and then he looks back at you and we're not certain. Perhaps you would like to have a look. We don't know what has befallen my wife. That's part of why we asked you to come.
Does taking a look at your wife is that, do we get paid after that, or is there more to this story?
Yeah, you get paid after that, and then the session's over, and we can be done for the rest of the night.
I mean, Zoram would be great, would be cool with that. I wouldn't, but Zoram would.
No, Ty Turan, he shakes his head and is, I will only give reimbursement for your deeds once my wife is better.
Well, no problem, no problem. Makes complete sense. Hey, y'all, you any of you a doctor or anything? Let's go see his wife. Let's go. I don't know how you're all going to react to my enthusiasm, but
yeah, Verse sort of starts rummaging through his pack, trying to find if he's got any books on medicine or anything like that, even like alchemy, potions and remedies, stuff like that. Do you want me to roll for that to see if I've got any?
Sure.
Books that may help.
Go for it.
At least help identify.
Yeah, just roll a straight D20 and tell me what you get, and we'll have a luck roll.
10.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you managed to pull out your huge assortment of just paper from your bag. You managed to find some verbiage you had copied from some scroll, talking about anatomy. How helpful it's going to be, you're not certain, but you have a little bit of information, and that probably gives you some comfort.
can I do a quick perception check to see if there is anything valuable that I can spot in his pack? Or is that a fool's errand?
It's a fool's errand. You see a lot of paper mostly, I think. But I don't know.
If I catch you, you're in trouble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, make fair. I wouldn't say a perception check. Maybe make a like a quick deception check, because you probably don't want him knowing that you're peeking into his bag.
Okay. I'm not going to find anything, but I need to.
Well, it depends. I don't know what he's got in there, so I can't tell you. So deception. If you want to go through with this deception, he can do an insight check to see if he can see you doing this. And then he can tell you what maybe you might see on top and if there's anything of value. That's how I would do that.
I got an 11 total.
13.
So, yeah, you probably notice him, and I imagine you might close up your bag quickly.
Yeah, that's my best stat, so good luck.
Gosh dang it! A formidable opponent.
All right.
Sorry, did you want me to still say what he might have seen in it with an 11?
I imagine you catch him quick enough that he doesn't have enough time to see what's on top there.
All right, cool.
You just catch me looking a little too suspicious as I kind of am trying to look over to see what might be in your bag, and then I realize, I was being sloppy. I got too excited.
I see you, and I take it off my back, and I put it on the front way, and like hug it so you can't get into it.
While you're doing that, once again, I am like, so yeah, let's chop. Let's go we're going on an adventure. Where's your wife?
So, fortunately, I'm gonna kill myself. I cannot get. Oh, she's back now. What's your name? One more time. I need to get this down.
It's
Someone else
Lanera.
probably.
Lanera.
Not Lanera, your actual name.
Oh, Yvonne.
Yvonne. I need to like write it out phonetically or something. That won't even help though. Okay, Lanera, Yvonne.
Call her Vaughn.
Vaughn. That's a lot easier. Vaughn is a lot easier for my stupid little brain. All right, I was just making sure you were back. That's all.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Do we need to catch you up?
Dave said all you guys really were doing was just role playing.
Yep. All right. That's mostly what had happened. I didn't know when you had left. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, the rogue was trying to figure out if he could steal anything from the sorcerer. And
just to let the rogue know, I am keeping track on how many times the rogue is going to get us killed.
Oh, okay. Good. That'll be a good thing to recall at the end of this session.
The end of the session. Oh, the rogue did this, the rogue did that, and the rogue... that time
You're
we
welcome.
almost died, and that time we actually died. Okay.
This adventure or misadventure brought to you by...
the rogue. All right, so Ty Tehran would look once again to his advisor and nod to him. You feel like they probably talked a lot about what's happening here beforehand, and they've discussed, at length what exactly is going to happen. So they have some sort of inside knowledge about how they want things to progress that they're not saying openly to you. But Ty Tehran would, motion towards Ty Duro, his advisor, and say, Ty Duro will show you the way. I have some other matters I need to attend to. And assuming you come, he sort of motions you out of the hall and starts moving you outside of the building. And he looks to you particularly, Zurum, and he says, and he's speaking in common. I'm impressed. Not many know our language.
Oh, I am flattered, but it was a wonderful language to learn, if I may say so. I took quite a bit of determination in man hours, but it was a pleasure to learn how to be able to speak with you directly, my good sir.
Well, you're fortunate that Ty Tehran does not know your language. Your overspoken tongue could get you in trouble someday.
I have no idea what you are talking about. By the way, everything that I've been saying to him has been in Tabaxi.
You're responding.
I'm not responding in common tongue. I'm talking to him in Tabaxi. Though I would like to point out as a bit of flavor that if it's okay, that although I do have it here written as though I have it down perfectly, I think that the way I actually speak it, my grammar is just ever so slightly off, and sometimes my word choice is incorrect. Anyway. I don't actually speak it quite as good as I seem to think that I can. Every once in a while, I say the word peacock instead of could or something. But more or less, you're able to get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. He nods at this and.
Oh, thank you, Dave. I just saw the POL. Anyway.
So
point of inspiration. Anyway.
Oh yes. You guys remember, as we recalled from last session, I am terrible with inspiration. I love what's happening, but I forget about it constantly. So I think I'm mostly going to have you guys suggest that, because you seem to be better at remembering. Mostly Dave is better at remembering it. He's probably DM'd too much. It's a flaw.
I probably play too much. It's probably the problem.
But so yeah, Michael, definitely take a point of inspiration. Things have been on point so far. He would look then to the two halflings in the in your little group, and he nods his head, and you two are very peculiar. I am myself perhaps a bit of a what is the right word, a magic user? I don't know what you guys would call it. One who bends the will of the world. It appears you guys have something like that too, though I'm not entirely certain. I can feel it off of your presence and a little bit from your companion's reactions. And he looks at Zurum, remembering how confused he was during the at the throne.
Zurum is not going to say anything about the telepathy, but he is going to watch like a hawk to see whether or not his new, in his mind, his new catfolk friend, whether or not he starts looking confused because the halflings are communicating with him. He's trying to figure out how the telepathy works is ultimately what's going on here. So he's curious to see what happens. But
all right, you're going to say something, Dave?
So he's speaking in common now?
Yeah. He's been talking in common this whole time.
The
rogue has been a jerk and has been responding into backseat to try to avoid.
Right. So Tally actually says that, well, it depends on where your magic originates from. I mean, you've got the divine, and that comes from the gods, and then you've got the nature that comes from the spirits of the wood and the nature, the spirits of the fae, and then you've got the force of spirit. Which, if you think about it, the force of spirit is really something very unique. I mean, when you talk about someone, which I think is him, but I'm not sure. He could be just a sneaky person. Because he looks like he could be, and then you've got some otherworldly magic that's really hard to describe. And are you with me? Are you carrying on?
This, my friend, is precisely why we have asked you, not your four in particular, but your kind to come. We are not well versed in these many complicated, faceted subjects. Our knowledge is relatively limited, even though Ty Tehran probably does not like to admit it.
I think after Tally starts speaking about the different kinds of magic users, Versailles sort of looks down at his gauntlet and sort of peels it back a little bit and looks at the slight tinge of golden scale that covers his skin on his part of his forearm, but he doesn't say anything to anyone else. He's just sort of looking at it.
I'd like to roll perception to see if I notice the gold.
No, Michael, no, bad.
No? Am I allowed to? You can tell me no.
It would probably be passive perception based, and I think our sorcerer would be slight enough with his movements to avoid.
Okay.
Your detection.
I don't want to be obnoxious about it.
It's all right. It's the rogue's job to be obnoxious and get the party killed. This is a staple, you know.
I heard gold, and you know, this is the only gold thing I've heard of so far, and it would be even better if it's clearly something that is a part of Brad's body.
Gonna steal your arm, man. I'm gonna steal your arm.
To try to get at it.
Just look away for a moment. I'm gonna peel this off.
That's right. Anyway, but anyway, okay. I guess I didn't see anything, but I could have sworn I saw a glint. Okay.
And Tally realizes that he's just overwhelmed. He was a little excited for a moment there because he felt like there was a connection, and then he realizes I just said too much. And then he kind of sets back and he, magic comes in different sorts. Yeah, you probably have it, and some do. But you're right. I connect with those of the spirits of the woods.
And you do as well? He's looking at you, Lorena. Did I get that right?
No.
Ah! This is going to be like a staple, you know. How long can I go? All right.
It's literally Panera with an L.
Lanera.
Lanera.
Oh, I see it now. I'll forget it in 5 minutes.
So you're saying you're a goldfish, is what you're saying? What?
Yeah, that's me. That's me to a T. My jokes are just like that too. They're terrible in random situations. Okay.
So Lanera is going to speak with Tally. I don't think he's asking about that type of magic. I think he's talking more about what we can do because of, you know, our race.
So he looks to him and he says, "Are you talking about this?" And he sends him a telepathic question.
And you see him raise just you know, a slight eyebrow. And Zurum, you've spent enough time, you know, watching people's expressions to notice this, and immediately realize, oh, there's been another telepathic event.
A telepathic event.
That's what we're calling it from now on. And Ty Duro nods his head and is, precisely. I maybe wasn't entirely certain what, but yes. No, you spoke of knowledge, my friend. I will call you friend because it's the polite thing to do. But you should never get tired of knowledge. Ty Turan gets tired of knowledge. Honestly, it's one of the worst things that can happen. But don't worry about speaking too much about knowledge to me. I am a very big fan of knowledge, though I have little of it.
I think Versailles would reach into his pouch and rummage for just a random bit of paper with some sort of interesting information on it, some knowledge, bit of knowledge for the guy, and he would hand it to him. Just wait for his reaction.
And Ty Duro, you know, takes the piece of paper and looks at it. You can see that he's struggling slightly. Obviously, he's very well versed in speaking common, but maybe he has a harder time reading it, because they don't get much of an opportunity here to do that. But he seems to be making some progress on it, and he nods his head and says, very interesting. Oh, you learn something new every day. I appreciate it. And he hands the scroll back to you.
Was I able to read any of that, like surreptitiously look over and see, or was it?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to look over. You can see the title was something like, it was something really mundane, like the anatomy of spider's venom or something like that. It was just like completely above your head, on the scale of like what the heck? What are they talking about? They're making up words. None of this is a real thing. You know, it's a sort of, it's like me opening a medical textbook. It makes no sense if you haven't had the preliminary courses.
Yeah, I don't see any of the keywords that I'm looking for, and I instantly lose interest once I see it. And also,
what's that? It didn't say gold anywhere.
It didn't say gold.
Yeah.
It didn't say gold or jewels.
It's not lined in anything neat. It's not got a stamp of approval on it. It's not important.
In fact, I haven't seen anything valuable on your character, and now you're handing in medical textbooks. So my interest in you has now dropped several points, and I'm focusing now on the two halflings. So you may have saved yourself.
Brad, that was very nice. Can you take a point of inspiration for that? See, I remembered to do it this time. I'm getting better eventually. But so going further, there's these huge trees in this jungle. We're talking, exotic Amazon rainforest sort of style. And further back behind this ruined hall, there are a set of tree houses, kind of. They're very rudimentary, but the hall, as you might guess, is sort of a ceremonial, extravagant way of saying, we're powerful. We've got an entire, stone ruin to set our throne up in. But back here, it's much more modest. And Ty Duro, takes you up and around, and you get to some sort of difficult sections because the catfolk have a very easy time scaling these trees. And they weren't designed for people like you to just there's no steps and stuff. So Ty Duro has to sort of improvise a little bit to figure out how to get you guys up into the front of one of these houses. And he stops at the door of the house and turns back to you, you four, and he says, "Remember secrecy. It's very, very important that this stays quiet. You'll understand in a moment. I need your word, as it might be put, one more time, that you'll be quiet about what's on the other side of this door." Thumbs up will not cut it. I won't.
and you have my word.
I appreciate it.
You have mine as well.
Once the thumbs up doesn't work, I say, "Oh, yes, you have mine, too."
Thank you.
You have my word.
Very well, then. And he opens the door, and on the inside, you very quickly realize why they're being so sort of uptight about this. The inside, the room itself smells like a sick room. There's specifically a very strong odor of sweat in here. The salt kind of stings at your nostrils a little bit. And there's a bed. Catfolk don't use bed very much, but obviously this was an extreme circumstance. There's a bed with some very nice sheets of some kind. They probably purchased it from a caravan, maybe for this particular purpose. But you see a female catfolk, in bed, and it's pretty obvious that she is pregnant, and most likely with this tribe leader's heir, and that there's some conflict between tribes and stuff like that. And when heirs are going to be born, it's it's a delicate situation, because a way you could definitely rob a leader of his future, or a tribe of some of its safety, is to kill the heir. So they keep sort of the chieftain's wife's pregnancy a big secret, so that none of the other rivaling tribes can figure out. But this catfolk, she is medically definitely in some stress. I have a description here somewhere. I just have to find it. DM notes, yay! All right. Her fur is completely wet with sweat, which is definitely not a good sign. And you can also notice that nearby there's a bucket, probably for vomit or because of some upchucking that she might be doing. But Ty Duro leads you in here, and he sort of nods his head, the sort of like, yeah, see, you know what I mean? This is why we're being, very quiet about this. What would your reactions be? And I can pick on someone if I need to.
Actually, Tally, seeing a living creature in pain, looks to him and asks, actually quietly through telepath, that if he might inspect, as he has some medicinal skills.
And Ty Duro, nods his head. You're asking him, right? Or are we asking? She's kind of like half unconscious, but
yeah, I'm asking him.
Yeah, I figured you were. He nods his head as, that is why we brought you here, is it not?
As it should be. And you see him kind of kneel down and go into his pack, and he brings out this cloak and he shakes it out, and you hear these. At this moment, you kind of hear clattering of insect shells against jungle leaves. It's not extremely loud, and he just puts it over his back, and he begins cautiously moving forward toward her as he begins inspecting without touching with a medicine check.
Yeah, there are a few servants in the room, and they back up when you approach. Giving you free rein to inspect her. While he's doing this inspection, what might the rest of you react to that or this situation?
Zurum says and does nothing. He's simply staring. He gets this quick sweep of the room, and now he's just sort of staring at the female cat person, noticeably without. He's just sort of blank faced and is kind of stroking his face a little bit. And I would like to point out that I am not checking the room for valuables, though there is a slight little instinctual part of my brain that when I hear clattering, I'm like, wait, maybe I should check. But then I realize that it's just insect shells, and my interest in Dave's character also goes down a couple of notches. So now I am focused entirely on Lanera as my last opportunity for there possibly to be valuables, but that's all very far in the back of my head right now. I'm mainly just staring at this wife.
Seeing what Tally is doing, Lanera actually has some skills in medicine, and she's going to see if she can be of assistance. So let's see that.
Depending on the DC, I don't know, maybe she can roll with advantage or something if I succeeded.
Which one of you has a better medicine check?
She does, because she's trained in it.
Yeah, so she can roll. You can roll with advantage on that. We'll say that.
Okay.
Give you the up. You were going to say something, Brad?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ursay would have a similar reaction to Zero, just sort of standing there watching, because he knows he can't really do anything to help at this point. He doesn't have any knowledge in medicine in particular, and he's just sort of a bit somber seeing her in that state. So he will just sort of stand there and wait for instruction on sort of what we need to do to be able to help her.
All right. What'd you get on that check?
You know, it's a nice thing to be a halfling with the ability to reroll ones.
Oh, that's an amazing ability.
I tell you, because with that reroll, I got an unnatural 20.
Oh, we're getting rid of all the good luck now. I like it. I appreciate it. When the monster comes around, that's when I want to see them twos. Okay.
That's when we push. We'll push the rogue forward.
Push the rogue.
Yeah, I'll use Thunderwave on the rogue and push him towards the monster.
I haven't done anything to you yet.
Oh, no. See, I already got a list of things that you've been doing.
Talk your mouth off now, sir.
Okay. But you need me. I can speak to Baxi.
That's only good for so long. And then the need is no longer there.
It's got an expiration point. You know, it's going to be...
Exactly.
It's going to disappear soon.
What were you saying, Brad?
I just said that. I just said I was going to use Thunderwave on him to push him towards the monster.
Oh, I love it. It's so great. All right. So I imagine the inspection might unfold sort of like this. I mean, you have Zurum and Versailles sort of in the back, just kind of watching awkwardly and somberly, maybe not awkwardly, but definitely somberly, as the two halflings go forward. Tally, you didn't want to, physically inspect her, so you're sort of in, a few steps away, just making comments, I imagine, to Lanera. I got the Panera thing in my head, so it's gonna work now. To Lanera, and Lanera, you might actually, very, very, privately, remove some of the covers, so that most of her is shielded, but still very doctorally inspecting, for various signs of things, checking heartbeat and stuff like that. And she, might give off a groan at a few tender points on her abdomen when you're doing this physical inspection that you've been trained to do. But other than that, she's mostly quiet. She's sort of shivering, probably has a fever. But what you can determine, even though it's kind of bizarre, you assume that some kind of poison has been used in this situation. Somehow poison had been administered, and on top of that, with such a nice roll, can maybe you give me a nature check, a knowledge nature check, real quick? You see, I'm going to make it as difficult as I can as possible. Make it so difficult that you guys can't get anywhere, and then, we can have the game end sooner,
I got a whopping 9 on that.
9. All right. So you are unfamiliar with what kind of a poison would be used. Maybe one of your companions would be able to help in that regard. Maybe one who is Dave, is that an 18 on that? Yeah, okay. Particularly Versailles would be able to help out with with that. And as you two work together, you with all your dealings with nature, Versailles, you spend a lot of time with animals and stuff like that, and the cat folk, their anatomy definitely functions a lot like a cat would. So you're probably not Versailles, it's Tali. Tali, I have them all written here, but it's not helping. It doesn't matter. Tali, you spend a lot of time with animals, and this seems to be functioning somewhat like a very large spider's venom. Somewhat. There's obviously discrepancies and inconsistencies, and things that are slightly different. But it's you imagine that some sort of large poisonous spider would contribute to this, though maybe not entirely. There's obviously something odd about it.
Can I? And actually, Tally had actually looked to Versailles and had actually asked him a couple questions that helped him narrow it down, because from what he had gathered so far was that Versailles had been very textbook and well read, and Tally, can barely read, but so he kind of looked to him and he asked him, like, this is kind of related to this, and I think that, if I'm not mistaken, this is similar to the sacs of the arachnid. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Arachnistethicus.
Yeah, Arachnistethicus.
Yeah, he'll start rummaging through his backpack, trying to find a book that may help with this, and he pulls out a sort of half-torn, covered book and starts flipping through it, looking at the page number,
and I start looking to telepathically talking to Lanera, and I'm asking her symptoms, and I start verbally reading off the symptoms that we're seeing as he's looking through the book. And I would imagine that we're starting to kind of feed him symptoms as he's sort of fishing through the book, so to speak, to try to help us. I don't know if it's going to help, but it might narrow it down. Maybe give him a history check or a knowledge check of some sort.
Yeah, what check do you want me to make, Brigham?
What types of knowledges do you have?
Let's have a look. Well, I've got history and arcana.
History and arcana.
So nothing really linked to nature or anything like that, but
can you
I can just do a general.
Yeah, can you actually give me a arcana check? That would actually, I'd appreciate that one. And Dave, I'm gonna point of inspiration that. It's a great use of Versailles' background. So Dave, you can have a point of inspiration for that. See, I'm on top of it now. I'm just giving them out like candy,
That's cool.
I got a 17 for arcana.
17.
Yeah.
So you're flipping through all your stuff. I imagine you've probably got like 4 or 5 like stacks of papers and books on the ground by the time you find this. But you remember somewhere in some of your studies, and some of the knowledge you've acquired, because you spend a bit of time here in the jungle and you spend a bit of time learning about the jungle. You run across a note you had taken, or a paragraph somewhere, describing a creature that it's not particularly from this world in that sense, though they're naturally born here and they're particularly rare. But these very large, multi-limbed, sort of spider-like creatures that sometimes like lapse over from the Shadowfell. They tend to have weird abilities from that area, but you do have notes about its poison, and you particularly have a lot of these symptoms marked down about this this very large creature, and it is it's called the I actually don't know what it's called. I was gonna make it up. Thought I was cool. I didn't expect you guys to get that information about that thing yet. Actually,
it's an unnamed creature.
It's
no one
unnamed
knows its name.
Creature from
Brad,
the abyss. Yeah.
Brad, what does Versailles' notes say? Whether or not it's real or not.
So yeah, he's flicking through the the text, and he comes to a certain page, and he stops and he puts his finger on it, and he goes, "Oh, here we are, here we are." And he's looking through the symptoms, and he's profusely sweating, sporadic convulsions. It looks like this is the one. This is the one here. And he shows Tally the page, which has sort of like a decent hand-drawn image of a portrayal of this creature that he seems to think is the one that's caused this this poison. And I'll just relay the information that Brigham sort of just went over about it may be of a shadowfall origin or some other worldly origin rather than a natural creature. And yeah.
Does it have a name or that you recall in there, or whether it's right or not? I'm just thinking.
Mortem Walker is the note you have. Mortem Walker.
Cool. Yeah, it could be wrong. It's just his notes, and you know, but that's close. Mortem Walker.
Have you found anything? Ty Duro had actually left for a second, and he's come back in. You know, he probably has some other duties he has to tend to as well. It's a pretty large tribe, and he's the advisor, so he often gets to fulfill duties that the tribal leader is assigned to him. But he comes back in. He found anything useful then?
Yeah, Basay would walk right up to him with the page open and show it to him and explain. He would show him the symptoms on the page. He would sort of read it out to him because he remembers earlier that he wasn't too good at reading common. So he would explain the symptoms and show and point to the female tabaxi on the bed. And he would give him the name of the Mortem Walker. Does he recognize that name at all?
He would shake his head, and the description of the creature, he would also sort of look a little confused, and we've had no reports of anything like that nearby.
It is otherworldly. It may not be of this region. It may not be of this world. So, where do you suppose we start with this? Trying to track this down.
He looks a little perplexed. Micheal, can you give me a straight up intelligence check, and you can add your proficiency bonus to it for this particular circumstance?
19 total.
19 total. All right. You're considering the things that you've heard here, and you have a particular man who runs some caravans further north that you've spent a lot of time talking to, and You this is your contact that you've spent a lot of time with, in your adventures here in the jungle, and you recall him mentioning something about a large creature that he was not hunting but following. One that slightly matches this description, if ever so slightly. This contact of yours, he's almost more unsavory than you. Maybe a little less morally aligned, if that's possible. He would definitely take advantage of attempting to harvest some sort of poison or something off of creatures. He has done in some creatures in the past. What he does with those, you're not entirely certain.
So is the implication here that this contact may have been trafficking in the poison, or do I not know nearly that far? I just know that he has followed this kind of creature before.
You wouldn't put it beneath him. You know that right now he's following this kind of creature up north, or he has a team following it or something. A creature that loosely matches his description. Obviously, they haven't had a great view of it as they've been following it. But you definitely would not put it past him that he had somehow procured this poison. Okay.
Of course, that's, yeah. Yeah, and I'm assuming he's the only person I've ever heard of who has managed to find these guys, who I've ever heard of. Because these guys are rare, I'm assuming.
You've almost never heard of one, except for you heard your contact briefly mention it.
Yeah. And one other question, which I may need to roll for again, but do I have enough of an understanding of the trafficking and markets in this area to have any kind of an idea of whether or not it's plausible for him to be definitely have been involved perhaps in the transfer of the poison to her? Like, am I able to get any notion, like a criminal notion, of how the poison could have gotten from up north to into this wife's body?
So based off of the catfolk culture that you know, it's pretty unlikely that someone outside of the tribe was able to administer this poison. This is most likely an inside job, but it's very likely that they could have bought it from this unsavory contact you have in the northern caravan. But that's your guess. It's very likely that someone probably bought this, maybe from your caravan leader. He hadn't actually acquired any of this when you last talked to your contact, but and then someone could have administered it, most likely maybe through food. So based off of your criminal devious, someone who was probably involved with their food or water was involved in this situation.
Okay. Yeah, so I know all of this. I'm holding on to it. I want to know if anybody else speaks. I am going to share it. Don't worry. I'm not playing duplicitous right now. But I'm holding on to it for now because I'm curious what anybody else is doing at this point. I'm kind of curious where other people are going with it, mainly because I'm trying to determine, because I know in my head that it makes most sense that, okay, somebody in this tribe has attempted or has succeeded in poisoning the wife. So that means that any of the people in this tribe, in my mind, including the I can't keep their names straight, but the fellow the cat person who's with us right now, in my mind, is instantly
Tide Duro
yes.
is the advisor. Yeah, he's instantly a suspect.
Instantly suspect. So I don't want to even give an indication, because I don't want this to go south on me. So I'm not saying anything yet. But that's my thought process.
Dave, I believe you wanted to do something.
Yeah, so Tally actually, as he's contemplating this, he kind of brings out a wet cloth and washes his hands and kind of wrings it out and puts it back in his bag, and he begins wiping his hands, and then he wipes it on his, and he starts humming to himself, and as he does so, he seems to go into somewhat of a trance as he puts his right hand forward as he's on the left side of this body, and he kind of starts to stroke her head slightly, and just, you know, like you would stroke a cat, and at the same time he grabs her paw and just sort of politely holds it. And for a moment, you actually see the shimmer of green that sort of just starts to go through him. And this sort of soothing waves just start entering into her body as he's casting lesser restoration on her. And in essence, what it will do is it should lessen the effects, whether they persist and continue further. They should at least lessen it by one effect, one condition currently.
Yeah. Can you actually make a wisdom saving throw for me?
Okay. This isn't tied to a skill. This is straight. Oh.
Wisdom saving throw. Yeah.
Natural 20. So that's a 22.
This is when I needed the 2, man. This is when I needed the 2 so I could have fun. So you're casting this spell, and
I would imagine that I feel resistance. I feel push back from what I'm trying to push through, right?
Yeah, when you say you feel resistance, you feel like a explosive resistance, and the save was really saving your own self, as you know, your hands almost get like temporarily charred in this sort of like inky black wisping shadow, and you can feel something like attack your mind, and you probably have to stumble back real quick, as this sort of pain-ish thing tingles at your fingertips, but you do see that the condition lessens, but you remember Versailles saying something about tied to the Shadowfell, so there's definitely, you now know for sure, there's definitely some kind of magic tied to this poison. It would take a lot of effort on your part to magically subdue it, even with your spells. But if you had something maybe from the monster, you based on what you know, if you had something you could study from the monster, you might be able to figure out sort of a magical variation of lesser restoration to overcome this magical effect.
Okay, yeah, and as this assault is actually coming back at me, it's not what I expected, and you see my eyes kind of open for a moment and then squint as he doesn't stop. His hands just deftly continue, but you can see his body, as if, for those who are watching, his body seems to, or actually he's up like this because he is short.
Yeah, he's short.
But you can see the rest of his body is actually looks like he's physically pained by what's happening. But he continues on, and then he steps back, and he kind of almost does a 360 sort of swirl, and then he just kind of plops on his butt for a minute, and he holds his head, and he looks up at Versailles, and he just nods his head. That's what it is.
Then we haven't much time. We need to get out of here. We need to find this beast. We need to find a solution to this problem as soon as possible. It cannot wait.
Oh, for the safety of the child, at the very least. But where do we start?
Ty Duro, just to make you feel at ease, Micheal. Ty Duro sort of sees that you guys are like starting to take up whatever quest, if that's what you want to call it, and he immediately leaves. Most likely, expect to go get Ty Turan to continue the negotiation stuff that they promised, but. So he's gone. The only other people in the room are these servants. So that is, something you could be wary of. You can maybe step out if you want to, but just the advisor's out of the room.
Yeah. So I'm just checking one thing.
If only we were all a telepath. I mean, if everyone was a telepath.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's actually the first thing that goes through his head is that he's kind of like, it'd be really nice if I could talk back to these halflings, but telepathically, but I'm not guaranteed, so I'm just going to have to. So actually, what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to run through a couple of things because I want to be very careful. So first so the message that I'm going to send is, to the two halflings is, are we able to communicate telepathically? And I'm first going to send it in Thieves' Cant, in case they know Thieves' Cant, even though they probably don't, but I'm doing that first. And if that fails, I'm literally going to go through the languages except for Tabaxi, because I know that they don't speak that. So I don't know if you guys know Thieves' Cant for any strange reason, or Elvish.
I know 6 languages, so I know Elvish, Draconic, Sylvan, Giant, Common, and Dwarven.
Okay, so I'm actually, when I speak in, so once I realize that you speak in Elvish, I'll communicate with the two halflings in a moment, but I go straight to you because I want to eliminate as much chance as possible. I come up very close to you, and by the way, normally I've had a very you may not have noticed, but I have a flamboyant nature, but that seems to be oddly gone, and I'm very, very serious as I come up to you, and I'm like, so in Elvish, in my line of work, yeah, it does, Dave. I say in my line of work, I have a contact in the north. I couldn't help but overhearing the nature of the beast that you were describing and the symptoms of its poison. And the only time that I have heard from this friend of mine in the north that he has caught sight of this creature. In fact, that he has been hoping to be able to traffic in the poison of this creature. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. The fact that I now have reason to suspect that our quest might actually involve us having any kind of dealings with this creature, I would probably just end my relationship with all of you here and take my best chances just trying to steal the things from the treasury. And I'm saying this all point blank, by the way, which is kind of interesting. But once I say that, I'm like, but and it's not really any of your business, but I have certain emotional attachments, and I'm very interested in assisting this wife in any way I can. So I would like to assure you that as far as helping this wife and regaining her health, you have my full loyalty, and I will be perfectly happy to assist you all in meeting this individual who I suspect is probably partly responsible for her current condition. So this is all to Brad so far.
Yeah, and he would respond back in Elvish. Can you take us to him?
Absolutely.
Then let's go.
I can take you to him right now. So actually, Brigham, how far north is he? How much of a journey will this be? Just so I have a notion in my head.
Based on your estimates, this is going to be like about 4 days of travel.
Yes.
It's a good distance. But you know the way pretty well, so you can make a good time.
Yes. Well, it'll be 4 days, which is a number I know off the top of my head. And so I've communicated this to you, and I probably didn't need to make it so complicated. I'm just going to go ahead and communicate this also to the two halflings in common, but I'm keeping it as my voice as low as possible because I'm trying to be surreptitious here.
It's likely that the servants don't speak common anyways.
Okay.
I forgot to mention that. They might be able to, but you don't know, but it's highly unlikely.
Yeah, so, and no, I don't speak halfling that I have over here.
It's a beautiful language. You should consider it.
I speak Tabaxi, more or less. And that's a story that does have a backstory to it. And you'll learn it eventually, probably. But anyway. So yeah, I communicate these things. Bottom line is, sorry, I keep reading the chat. Bottom line is, yes, I am perfectly willing to assist us in heading up there. Though I actually, when I communicate it to the two halflings, I don't mention, when I was speaking in Elvish, I was very upfront about the fact that, yeah, I'm a thief and I would just steal from these guys if I could, but right now I'm not going to because I want to help this person. But I don't mention anything about thievery immediately to them. But I did mention it to Brad specifically. So I'm all ready and up for our journey, but I don't know what everybody else's reactions are to this or anything.
Based on what Tally has said, and based on what I'm sorry, Zurum. Did I get that right? Okay, based on what Zurum has said, and based on Tali's background, being that he has monitored these types of, he's been like the opposite side of Zurum, so to speak, except looking out more for like, breeding and stuff like that, and illegal activity in relation to living species. He sends him a tell, and realizing the type of person that he is, he realized he's a professional, and he says, "Thank you, and I expect that you will be duly compensated for your endeavors."
I It looks as though I'm about to speak, but then I hold myself back and I simply nod. Actually, I attempt to concentrate really hard and see if I can send a message back. So for a moment, it looks slightly like I'm straining. I'm assuming this is not going to work and I'll just look silly, but I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, and you see Tally just look at you like he's looked at so many people whenever he's done it before. And he just shakes his head like...
Lanera looks at you and says, you got a headache?
He just kind of does this as he's like, there you go, in kind of an awkward attempt to regain his pride.
So, as you guys sort of finished up your conversation, the door opens again, and Ty Turan, you've probably been here for a little while. You know, the examination took time, and sort of flipping through of Versailles' notes took time. You've at least been here for half an hour making, all of these assessments. And so Ty Turan comes in with Ty Duro, and Ty Turan says to you, Zurum, so are you ready to bargain now?
Oh, bargaining is my middle name.
Why do you say Peacock is your middle name?
What if it's
Oh, that's awesome.
The DM gets a point of inspiration. That's my proposal. That was fantastic.
There's no better way to ruin an epic moment. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually going to take Zurum a moment, or probably like a full 2 minutes to fully recover himself from the slow realization of what has just happened, and maybe not that long, but then finally he's like, what would he say? So actually, just to make sure that I'm clear, Brigham, so he's coming in saying, are you ready to bargain? Is that their way of saying we're getting paid in advance, or that they're just curious what?
So you guys had said previously that you wanted to see what their task was going to be before you made your bargain of what you wanted to receive in compensation. So he's showing up and then saying, you guys have gotten a look at what you're going to be doing. I'm ready to talk about what you guys are going to receive in return. He said specifically before he's not paying you up front,
Right. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think so. Well, actually, I'll give other people an opportunity that in the few moments of my embarrassment in catching myself, other people can speak up if they want to.
Well, so they don't know that you completely embarrassed yourself because they don't speak to Baxi. They just see you get completely befuddled.
Yes.
and Ty Duro sort of takes over for a second and says, Ty Turan says he is ready to bargain if you guys are.
Tally actually looks to the monk and the sorcerer and he says, I don't think there's time for bargaining, and I believe we've already established that we get choice of the treasure. Is that correct? Was that our understanding? Was that what we bargained for already?
Yes, I say emphatically. I am interested in my choice from your treasure holds. If that is our agreement for me, I won't speak for everyone else, then I am good to go.
Ty Duro nods his head as, you know, like, yeah, that's definitely easy to give to you.
Well, then I think that based on the circumstances, time is of the essence and we need to move. She should be sleeping calmly, albeit still in a fever, but she is better than she was. She will relapse, but she may come out and may actually be able to speak to you. But continue to care for her as you would. I've done what I can for the moment.
Oh, you're gonna say, Michael?
Like he said. So what I'm actually, yeah, what I'm actually going to do is I'm assuming that they are curious what our plan is. If they're not, I'm not going to tell them anything. But I don't know if, cause the reason I'm jumping the gun a little bit here is because my notion was that if they want to know what our plan is, I'm straight up going to lie to them and tell them we're going someplace other than where we're actually going. Like in the same direction so that they're not overly suspicious, but I'm not, I want to cover where we're actually going as much as possible, which I'll probably need to roll for, but I don't know if they're actually asking for anything like that.
Yeah, Ty Duro would have asked what your plans are. So the question is, are you going to lie to him in common or in Tabaxi?
In Tabaxi, because that way, in my head, by the way, I've been thinking this, realizing that I'm not as good at speaking Tabaxi, and they know it. If I don't do as good in my deception, then it's easier for me to chalk it up to them misunderstanding me because I don't speak Tabaxi very well.
All right, roll a deception check.
Yes.
Against an insight.
I got a total of 15.
15. All right. So do you like say we're going to go eastward, or what specifically did you say your plan was?
I say that because they currently don't know anything about what precisely happened, correct?
No, they're pretty unfamiliar with everything at the moment.
Yeah. So what I'm going to tell them in Tabaxi is that a version of what is going on, so that we believe that we have reason to believe that this is caused by a naturally occurring poison. Excuse me. It's not something. It was that what has happened is essentially an accident, but it's a very unusual disease, and I know of someone to the north west area who is a healer who has antidotes that should be able to help, and that we're heading over in that direction. The point being that I'm trying to keep out any notion that this is that anyone in the court has any reason to like worry about what we're doing or something.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being maybe I'm trying too hard to be clever and criminal about this, but I am sort of legitimately paranoid.
Make another note about the what the rogue's doing. No. So
that I'm lying to people.
Lying to people. It's in your job description. Ty Tehran appears to take this at face value. Ty Duro seems maybe he has like a confused look on his face for a second, but he immediately covers it up and nods his head, and he says, "Well, I will accompany you briefly on your way then. Make sure you have a proper farewell, I guess is the right way to put it."
Is I don't know if there's a change with 5th edition. Is there anything that's an equivalent of me being able to sense his motive or scry more into what's going on there?
Yeah, that'd be an insight check if you would like to make
that.
Are you guys both speaking in Tabaxi now, or is this in common?
I'm speaking in Tabaxi, but I don't know what they're speaking in.
They're excluding everyone like jerks, you know.
I'm terribly sorry.
I was going to say, otherwise I'll do an insight check as well, but that's all right.
Maybe I should have been speaking in common, but no, I'm speaking in Tabaxi, which is unfortunate because this is unfortunate because I just rolled a natural 2, though I can add to that. I'm not proficient, so it's a total of 4. So that doesn't help very much.
So the most you can glance is he was very briefly like I said, it's a confused expression on his face. He not like he's worried about something, but he has sort of like a mathematical problem with what you've suggested. And he might want to talk to you about it, but other than that, mathematical is the logic is there's something wrong with your logic.
Okay.
He does not seem to agree with, or something like that. So he probably wants to maybe comment to you guys on it. For Dave's quick recap, the rogue has been speaking in Tabaxi like a jerk and not telling you anything about what's going on. Best recap ever. So
I would imagine that Tally feels comfortable enough right now that he just starts sending him one every 5 seconds. What are you saying? What are you saying? So what are you saying? You know, we really all need to know this.
What are you saying? What are you guys talking about? Come on. Come on. Why do I keep hearing peacock from the inside of your mind? But assuming that's good and done, you would probably relay to them. Zurm would, to the rest of them that Ty Duro was gonna, help you out of the village, and you guys are ready to go.
And I do. They keep on saying, "What are you saying? What are you saying?" And I'm not I don't feel comfortable enough to communicate back. I don't know if there is at all an opportunity for me to feel more safe communicating to them before we leave the village. Because I'm not at this point trying to conceal anything from them.
It would probably be best to wait until you ditch Ty Duro if you want to say something in secret.
Okay.
But until he's gone, you're probably not going to feel comfortable.
Okay.
So, you guys are walking out, and Ty Turan has sort of wished you, best of luck. In a much more like manly fashion. I don't know, tribal leader, something really epic sounding, but I'm not smart enough to think of something like that. So just imagine it.
Like a lion's roar.
Like the lion's roar. Yeah, it gives you a nice lion's roar goodbye. Don't bother. Sets the back of your hair on end.
It's a big meow.
The big meow. You just get the little pink tongue coming out. Okay. So yeah, all dignity that he used to have just got lost. So you guys are leaving, and Ty Duro is coming with you, and he says in common, he's not speaking. So a poison, you say? An accident with poison? How could something like that occur?
I'm going to send a message to Zurum really quick that just says, tell him as little as possible.
So he's speaking in common so everyone can, hear.
No, I sent it through a telepathic to Zurum that tell him as little as possible.
Yeah, I was saying Ty Duro, the advisor, was speaking in common, so everyone, it's an open conversation. But yeah, you are telepathically warning the spokesman.
Yeah.
I think you've been dubbed spokesman.
Yeah, I dubbed myself spokesman. Although I am keen to listen to. I am in agreement with Tally's advice. I'm wondering if I can, before I actually say anything, can I roll for persuasion to see if I can help to ease my continuing to be vague about this?
How about you give me what you're going to say, and then
okay.
Then I'll tell you if you need persuasion.
What I'm going to say is, I'm actually trying to think for a moment what I'm going to say. You know, all I'm going to say is that this is the this is just what we've been able to figure out from the records, or from medical records we have. Not and that's all we've got. Sorry, that's not quite as charismatic as I hoped it would sound, but
he nods his head understandingly. Of course, we know very little on the subject. Perhaps someone accidentally gave some bad food to her or something like that.
Well, you know, I've known that very rarely in these new times, as there has been greater intercourse between races, it's much more likely to happen now than in the past that diseases are more likely to be spread that were not present before. And so I believe that this is a rare case of a disease more common in the northwestern regions, though still very, very rare, having unfortunately penetrated your normally superior immune systems, and has hurt your wife. But I think that we should be able to get
the advisor. That's not the tribal leader. That's the advisor. It's not his wife. He's underling. Chieftain's wife. We assume you didn't say that. Just want to make that clear. Yeah, this is the advisor, the chieftain. That's his wife. Yes. Hurt your chieftain's
that
wife.
was my mistake.
That's the right way to put it. Sorry. Just want to be clear.
Anyway, this is my attempt to try to rationalize it more for him. Yeah. I don't know if this is foolhardy of me to do.
You make a persuasion check real quick.
Okay.
Can I insight check the advisor when he said that it was maybe someone putting it in the food or something like that?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
That's 18.
18. So
I got a 23 on my persuasion, by the way, total.
All right. Is looking this guy over, and from the interactions you've had with him so far, you know he's a pretty intelligent guy, even though he's sort of limited by the knowledge readily available to him. And it's pretty easy to see some of the fallacies with poison. It was an accident. With how much care they take over a pregnant chieftain's wife, and so he was sort of confused, and that was the most logical explanation. With poison is most likely food. She hasn't been stabbed recently, so it from what it sounds like a very reasonable. He's being very reasonable about this. He is convinced of your story, or it's enough to convince him. And he nods his head as, well, if you're traveling somewhat northward, I know you'll be veering to the west a little bit. I believe Ty Turan has a nephew somewhere roaming outside of the territory. He's a intelligent younger catfolk, I guess. And well, he's a nice guy. He's looking for some knowledge. It's rare to see tribal hierarchy look for knowledge, and I'm glad to see it. But if you run into him, give him my best.
What is his name?
His name is written on a piece of paper somewhere. Did I not write it down? His name is Ty Kron. You know what I mean?
What does he look like?
He looks a lot like Ty Turan. He very closely related. He's got the same large stature and impressive mane. But I don't think that the area he's in is any catfolk's territory, so it shouldn't be hard to mistake him.
We will be sure to look for him.
I appreciate it. He's in no danger, though, so just if you run into him, he might be of help. Anyways, best of luck. I must leave you now. Take care. Do not let anything ruffle your fur. Be swift. Farewell. And with that, he sort of stops and lets you guys continue.
Zoram, you said you knew the way to a particular individual who may be able to help us. Which way do we need to go from here?
We need to go straight north, not northwest. As you could probably guess, I was not being entirely honest, and I apologize for not checking that with all of you beforehand. But I've been in a situation or two like this before, and so pardon me if I'm a little bit paranoid about finding that same kind of infectious fluids in my own drinks. I've got nothing else, so if any, I mean, I'm assuming we're going north. But I didn't know if anyone had anything else to say to Zoram and how he handled the situation or anything else. But
no, Tally actually kind of brushes himself off and he says, "No, I get it. We're heading northwest, right?" And he winks at him.
That is what you said, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I assumed we were far enough away from the person that it was.
Yeah, okay. You're plenty far away.
Okay.
Right. So he
We're
winks
just,
at
we're
him.
just ribbing
Yeah,
him.
you wink. Yeah.
And you see Tally just start kind of checking the ground, and he kind of licks his finger and puts it up way in the air because he's short. And he checks the wind, and he rolls a survival check to check the direction. He probably knows the direction at this point, but he's checking survival to check the direction. So he got an 18.
Hey,
And
there we go.
And he says, I think it's this way. If you follow me, and he starts running.
Starts running perfectly north, in a perfectly north direction.
Well, he runs northwest initially,
Right.
and he starts dragging you. You know, I would imagine if you're following, he only runs like 50 feet per round, so he's obviously not as swift as the elves and the half elf, or the elf and the half elf. And I think Little Miss Monkey runs 10 feet faster than he does, so you guys can easily keep up with him. So, but he starts running, you know, just trying to get things in a move so that we can get out and give the illusion that we're going northwest. And
Yes.
then he starts, once he feels like we're safely out, Brigham will just start, you know, guiding back, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, giving sort of the false perception that you guys were going northwest for anyone who was maybe onlooking, or if they were to follow you later, and then slowly start curving around in the proper direction. Is there any conversation you guys wanted to have before we start time jumping? I know that a lot happened, and there's maybe some you want to discuss, but I'll leave that up to you.
As Tally is running, I just want to point out that Lanera passes him and says, "You're kind of slow."
That's adorable.
And then he transforms into a panther, and then actually starts overtaking her because of wild shape.
Whoa, you could actually do that?
Yeah.
And if you could hear a cat laugh, you could actually hear a cat snickering.
Zerum is just he is continually surprised by both of these halflings, but especially Tally, who keeps speaking to him telepathically and now reveals he can turn into a panther. So Zerum is actually becoming increasingly suspicious and agitated and wary of Tally, especially, who seems to possess the greatest one-up on him, or several one-ups.
It still looks like the other halfling, albeit she moves faster than Tally. She probably possesses something mysterious that he needs to pickpocket, right?
Well, so actually, can I do a perception check to see if I have noticed anything on Lanera that is valuable?
That's a whole lot of no.
There's your answer for you. If there's no other she's a monk, you know, they've forsworn riches and stuff like that. You know?
Okay.
There's no one interesting in this party for you to steal from. I'm sorry. Yeah, they don't have any magic items at the moment either. But if there's nothing else that you guys want to discuss,
I just want to
there we go.
After a little bit further on, once I guess I don't know if Tally changes back into a halfling or anything, but I would sort of walk up to him and since he's sort of seen what he's done with the wife and his sort of restoration magic, he would peel back his gauntlet to show him the golden scaly skin under there, and try and ask, and he would just ask him if he knew a way of curing it, not knowing really he still doesn't really understand his sorceress origins or powers, and he would show it to him and ask if he knew any way to He calls it scale skin. He doesn't understand truly what it is. He thinks it may be some sort of disease.
He's asking Tally this?
Yeah.
That's extremely intriguing. And may I? He asks as his little hands are and his eyes are feasting on it like he wants to inspect it.
Yeah, go for it. And he'll just pull his gauntlet up a little bit further.
And he starts inspecting it like you would medicinally, if you will. And he looks like he's more fascinated by it than learning anything from it, even though he takes about 2 minutes to look at it, because I only rolled a 4 total, medicine-wise. But maybe I could roll a history to see if I have, or would it be Arcana to see if I understand what's happening to him?
Probably be Arcana.
That's better. That's a 14. As I'm looking at it and just sort of testing the durability of it, I don't know if I've ever seen a dragon scale or not in my life, but...
Well, you've rambled enough about magic. You know a little bit about it. And you can probably determine that this is not a disease. It's some sort of magical effect. And it doesn't appear to be malicious. So you don't have much reason to be concerned over, his life safety.
So this never hurts, right? It didn't hurt when it appeared, or...
It does not hurt, but it's tingles.
Tingles. Tingles all the time, or tingles at specific times?
Only when I'm using magic.
So it's related. What can you think of anything else that might be related to it? It just seems to have spawned from magic.
I don't know. It's started small and then started to spread.
Well, I don't think that it's, if it doesn't hurt and you're okay with it, then I wouldn't worry about it, but I would definitely keep an eye on it. And in the meantime, though, he brings out this bag. It's these bunches of leaves with some herbs inside of it, and I would suggest that you drink this once a day, at least once a day. It's a tea, and he hands it to you, and it at the very least it'll calm you and give you better sleep, but maybe it will help if that's what you're hoping for.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And he sort of takes I'm guessing it's in some sort of glass vial or a cup or something. I'm not sure.
It's wrapped in leaves. But you can
take that with it.
A big leaf that basically you shove it in, and it's basically different like sprigs that you can break off and put into a tea.
Yeah, he'll put it in his little one of his little front pouches.
All right. So I think this is a ample time, real quick, to get in a quick break, use the bathroom, refresh our water supplies, pop the 5-hour energy, and we'll be right back shortly. So thanks anyone who's watching now or in the future. We'll see you in a moment or two. from the shadows. Yeah. Sorry, my video's not on. I was having a hard enough time. We're having some internet problems, so I just wanted to be safe. But yeah, my face isn't, warranting of needed adornment. I don't know what I'm saying. I just like saying words. I just don't know what they mean half the time. Like a guessing game. Oh. Session's gone well so far. Oh, I might want to grab water real quick. Oh no, I still got plenty. I love how these guys role play. It's awesome. When they get back, I might tell an awful funny story to someone. The thing is, if someone comes back and I start telling the story, the next person will come back like near the end tell of the story, and I'll have to say it again, and then like again. It's like a chain. It's the problem with the break stories, Okay. Now what was I doing? Hmm. I also take short breaks. I don't know why. Everyone else probably like gets food, but I don't know. Names are so funny. Can never get them right. It's odd. All right, I was gonna go check. All right, so I was looking at I'm surprised that someone actually came and watched it live. There was Vudu was watching it live. I appreciate the time that he spent here, but he suggested putting a link down for maybe like a document on who all everyone is, maybe for better understanding. So I'll take that suggestion. I'll take it over to my running. I take notes during the session, so that when I'm making the next session, you know, I can have important things like Mortem Walker. Like, I hadn't named that before. I don't know why. That's like one of the stupid things that you should name before is the darn creature. But Mortem Walker, I thought that was a good one for a quick. But yeah, I'll definitely take Voodoo's advice, and we'll see if we can get a brief description on each of the players to sort of make a resource document. Anyways, as I was saying, if maybe you came in the middle, if there's anyone like that, this is going to be a 3-shot. If you're interested, maybe if you're in the future, I can maybe make like a live planning session in the future for the next sessions. It would feel weird to make a planning session for like a 1-shot, because planning sessions just feel a lot more involved when it's on a multiple, like a campaign level. That's my personal opinion. But no, I don't. 1-shots are so hard to plan because you have to be very concise. And one of the downsides, the extreme downsides, is there's not much of a character arc that you can do with 1-shots. You have a very hard time. My favorite 1-shot that I ever saw was like the Pipeline, I think, by Captain Gothnog, I think it was. And maybe why that was my favorite was a 2-shot. It took 2 sessions to actually get the thing done. As evidence, you know, my last 1-shot, Bite of Extinction, that I did with most of these guys, it was like 5 hours long. I just don't like short stories. So I'm happy that they agreed to help me out and make this. I wouldn't call it a mini campaign, but it's an extended 1-shot is probably like the best way to put it.
The dwarves were very fun to play. I caught the last bit of that sentence.
Yeah, I've just been ranting nonstop, you know, because I was gone for like 30 seconds, and then I just sat here and started talking to myself. I actually checked. There was someone watching it live for a bit.
This game,
which is weird, you know. Yeah, I wasn't expecting anyone, so I didn't even bring up the chat, you know, for the YouTube page. No. Someone else was watching. I see that you're watching because you've been making comments in the YouTube page chat, Dave. But no, there was someone else. I don't know how long he was watching, but I don't know. It was kind of cool. It's weird to have that feeling. Even if they only came in for like 30 seconds, it's like, yeah, someone watched it for 30 seconds. That's weird.
Just coming to check it out.
Coming to check it out. Yeah. No. I was mostly just saying that I have a hard time with 1-shots. They're so hard to plan because I don't like short stories.
Yeah, you have to kind of cram it all into that one little space.
And you don't have. And my favorite part about D&D is like the character arcs, and it's really hard to make very developed character arcs in a 1-shot.
Yeah, it's like you only get one episode of TV to do an entire season's worth of story.
Yeah. So, and I didn't want to do like a campaign because I'm planning to have an extended leave for a while, for a little bit. So I didn't want to have like 6 sessions of a campaign to you know, like stop in the middle and then have to wait like 7 or 8 months before I can you know, continue it. So this was a nice alternative. It's a bit briefer, but still it has the sort of extended half campaign length. I'm so bad at pronunciation. It's so interesting. Eating case. Is that pronounced queso in chips? Yeah. I don't know. I have a hard time. It's bad. What's worse is I like writing stories. I actually have a sort of a script for a novel that I'm gonna wait until after my extended leave to worry about maybe potentially publishing it or whatever. But I always write like my character names are always like convoluted, and when someone else tries to read them, it's like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be pronounced. I wrote the name. I know it's how it's supposed to be pronounced.
What's the is it set in your homebrew world, or is it completely different?
It's in the same realm. It's yeah, it's Bflummy. Don't bother. Yeah, it's the same realm. It doesn't really deal with any of this. My homebrew world that I have is really, it's such a large mismatch. But this is there's a town. I called it Waterdeep. I'm gonna have to change that because I literally did not know it was a D&D name. I just thought it sounded cool. I probably heard it somewhere and was like, oh, that's a cool name. And then like 2 years later, it's like Waterdeep. That would be a good name. And then I learned it's like, oh crap, that's a D&D city. That doesn't work.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I did that with a few of my cities that I've got created. I just did a quick Google check to make sure they weren't either real place names, because one of them is quite like a French sounding name.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that sounds like it would be maybe an actual place. So I checked it. It wasn't. So that one checked out. But yeah, I do that with some of my names just to make sure.
But it's this one is it's a little town that's there's like this large rock formation in the middle of the ocean, and the town's been built on top of this sort of rock form, halfway on top and like half floating. It's mostly made out of wood, and that's the only location besides another little island that they go to briefly, but it really doesn't have to do with a lot of like mainland or culture. It's a pretty brief story. It was mostly just me trying to pretend I can write a story, so I was just trying to get one done. But it was a lot of fun. Now I was gonna say, because I was ranting about this earlier, so I was gonna tell a funny story maybe. So my pen for my tablet broke Tuesday, and it was like the worst thing ever because I've been drawing a lot recently, and I think I just wore down the nib on the pen. So I haven't drawn in like 3 days because I've been waiting for a replacement stylus.
Yeah, well, that last one was awesome. That one, the Provokers one, that was really cool. I like that one with the big cobra head, the snake head.
Really I've been having fun with them, taking advantage of stealing other people's creativity and just it's a lot easier because there's a whole element of when you're drawing you have to come up with the idea and then you have to do it, and so it gets rid of like half the work because it's like, okay, the idea is already there, the parameters are all there, I don't have to really think about what it is, I just have to make it. That's why I've liked doing those so much. But I did run recently of Edric. Did you see that one? I don't know if you did.
Oh, I think possibly I saw the thumbnail of it, but I didn't watch the whole video. But was it that King Edric one?
Yeah, it was King Edric. Yeah. I was bored one night and it's like, what the heck? We'll make King Edric, give him a crown, a fancy cape, and a mop. Oh, it's very fitting. Can you guys hear the music in the background?
I can't.
Okay, that's good. I could barely hear it. My microphone probably doesn't acknowledge its existence. Yeah. Darn door mate. Okay.
Well, I've got the washing machine going, so hopefully that's not too loud.
I can't hear it.
Oh, that's good.
Unless it's the occasional like mechanical glitch in the background or something. That's probably what it gets translated to.
It's just down the hall, so it's probably fair enough for that. Not making any noise. It's good.
It's not making much. It's pretty quiet. So Michael's not back yet. I think everyone else is back. They're eating food right now, and so
yeah. Are you guys going to be a little while longer? Because I might make some toast if that's the case.
Yeah, make some toast. We're just hanging. I don't know what Michael's doing. It's like went and bought a pizza, you know. But you can make some toast real quick.
Yeah, cool. I'll be back soon.
Yeah, go for it. I ate like 4 potatoes before the session, so I'm good.
4 potatoes. Are you Irish?
No, I'm a college student, man.
Potatoes are taste. I love baked potatoes out of the microwave personally, but not that often. But I mean, it's a good snack, man. You just microwave a baked potato, put some. I like mayo and just doctor it up, and it's a quick snack.
Yeah, but too many carbs.
Yeah,
College
but
student.
He's a college student.
I don't have to worry about that. I have health.
You
on
will
my side.
someday. You will. You will someday. Enjoy it now.
I have to enjoy it now.
What's your major, Brigham?
I'm majoring in management information systems.
Nice.
IT junk.
That's a good field.
I love computers. I don't know why. It's just like it makes sense to me. I had a really great high school district when I was still in high school. And they had a career in tech center that you could apply to go to, and they had a class there that was for Cisco networking. It was definitely my favorite class I ever took in high school, and mostly because it had a lot of real world application. It taught you how the internet worked, and it was a really fun class. Also, he's a funny teacher. We had a lab that we got to program constantly to test our skills. And the way we made sure that the lab was functioning properly is we would play a video game between the computers.
Nice. Perfect.
So you got to learn the 7 layers of the OSI model.
Yep. We got to take our first level Cisco certification, the CCENT. So it was an amazing class. I really enjoyed it. I don't know how much of it I remember now, but because I'm taking like all my general education stuff at the moment. Yeah, the OSI model, it's freaky how the internet works. It's like, it's amazing.
I hated having to memorize that. That was so boring. Really? I was like, give me the hands-on part of it where I get to, make the cables and stuff like that. That was fun.
The cable making was fun. I don't know. The other thing is I had a great teacher. He was energetic. He was an ex-sailor. He was an information specialist for the Navy for a while. So he was just a funny guy. He was part of an organization that would do medieval battle games. Where they got duct tape swords and stuff, and they'd spend all day beating each other up.
Yeah, Society for Creative Anachronism.
The SCA.
Yeah,
we used to be a part of that.
Yeah. It sounds fun. Maybe painful occasionally, but fun.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah, Dave ended up with some really, really hefty bruises.
This teacher of mine, he was an archer. That's how he,
Oh no, a battle archer.
Mm-hmm. He was a battle archer. He talked about times that he ran out of crossbow bolts, had to charge the enemy without crossbow bolts. All sorts of interesting things. But he'd go off on tangents sometimes, and he just made it entertaining to listen to the OSI model. I don't know how, but it was interesting.
Yeah, those are the best teachers.
The best teachers are the ones that are just ever so slightly insane. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah.
Those are the best ones. They're charismatic and insane. Yeah, it was.
At least just put on a show in front, to keep you entertained.
Well, the other thing is he genuinely cared about us, because we had him for like 3 class periods for a year, so he got to know us pretty well. But he would take time out of class. He understood that we would get bored of of IT stuff if that's all we did. So instead of breeze through the material as fast as he could, we would do things like program the lab and occasionally play video games in the lab. But he would also give lessons about life. He called them life lessons. So he would spend a lot of time like talking about like how do you get through college? You know, how do you what are the advantages and disadvantages of turning 18, and you know, all sorts of interesting stuff. He was a good guy. He is a good guy. I shouldn't say was. That sounds like he died. Brad showed up just as Michael did. It's perfect timing. All right. Yeah, I've just been rambling mostly. That's about it. Session's been going good so far. We got the role play up in the house. All right. So
up in the hizzy.
Up in the
up in the hizzy.
Oh, my sister is in basketball. She likes doing basketball, and there's got all this terminology that I don't understand. I make fun of it all the time. Apparently, like the stuff near the hoop is called like the paint or something, and they've got like some term for like scratching. I don't know. So I constantly, whenever I talk to her, I'm like, "You've been up and scratching the paint," and she's like, just like gives me that look of like you have no idea what you're talking about, and I absolutely hate it. And
are you talking about the youngest, the second youngest, or the one above that? I'm avoiding names because this is live.
The one that's just barely younger than me.
Okay. That makes it funnier for me. None of you know what's going on, but it's funny for me because I know. I can just imagine their reaction. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, so are we ready to continue? I think this side of the session will be briefer, but we'll see how it goes. So you guys have been traveling pretty successfully for a few days, heading due northward. I imagine, get my notes out. Imagine, Tali, you've been leading with your survival skills. You've been leading, but with points and pointers and tips from Zurum, since he knows the precise way. But your survival has managed to, the jungle. It's like the Amazon jungle. You've managed to stay alive. Haven't gotten eaten by anything yet. And you've been going for several days. You're at the sort of like 3.5 mark, where you're kind of at that. Okay, we don't know exactly how far we need to go and in what direction because it's a dense jungle. So we're starting to slow down and scan around. And what is your guys' passive perceptions and ACs? Those are probably important information that I should have, as an upstanding DM, I should have asked for that from the beginning.
Yeah, I tried to get my overlay to work when we were starting off, but the toolbox wasn't working for some reason.
Yeah, I was lazy and didn't make an overlay because that's me. I'm no overlay Brigham. It's classic.
You should try OBS. It's free. It's like XSplit.
I was looking at that, and it's
an option.
I will probably try it eventually, but at the moment I'm mostly just having fun, so I don't have. If I get bored, that's when I'll start messing with it, and then you'll see like all the glitter effects start appearing on my screen. And do you have a passive perception, Dave?
Yep, it's 14.
Okay.
I'll put it in there too.
No, I didn't see it for some reason. Oh, I see. It's at the end of the. Okay, it divided them.
Yeah, my rambling.
Yeah. All right. Okay, good. All right. Everyone takes a 10k 10 damage. No. Sorry. I've been playing too much L5R. I'm using the
TPK.
TPK. A giant tree falls over and squishes both the halflings. What do you do?
Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
Okay. So you guys, the first one to notice would be Lanera. Got to remember the Panera thing. That's the only way I'm going to get it. Lanera. You guys are traveling. The ground around you is starting to like soften a little bit. Probably coming into a more boggy area. But Lanera, you see between the trees what looks to be a cart or a wagon that has gotten stuck in the mud further up. It doesn't have like any horses attached to it, but it's between the trees. That's what you see.
I'm gonna let Tally know what I'm seeing, just between the two of us.
Darn telepaths.
I know. Isn't it awful?
And Tally actually reaches out to Zurum and then says, "Can you take a look at this wagon? See if it looks familiar telepathically?"
I jump slightly because I'm still getting used to that whole thing, and I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, wagon. What? Oh, that wagon. Oh, okay. So yes.
What? A wagon where?
He says as loud as he can.
Yes. I will now quietly go and inspect said wagon. From as much of a distance as possible, though. I don't know how. Yeah. What do I see?
Make a perception check real quick.
17.
17. So looking at this wagon, you sort of probably skirt around a bit. You know, don't want to get too close to it. It appears to have been abandoned here, probably because it got stuck in the mud. The wheels are pretty far in. It would have taken a lot of extra work. Whatever animals were attached to it have been unharnessed and most likely used to escape or continue their travel. But it's a good sign that the wagon's here because it means you're kind of close to the caravan outpost that's somewhere nearby. But you're not certain. You can see some stuff in the back there, but you don't know what's left in it.
Well, I dare say that I should check out what that stuff is. And I think you know why I'm checking it out.
I think everyone knows why you're checking it out.
Yeah. So I might as well try it. Is it like under a sheet or anything, or is it just there in the back?
Yeah, it's got that sort of old Pioneer sheet, but the sheet is been camouflaged. So it's a little harder to see in the jungle. It's a little harder for some of the larger predators out here to spot the moving white tarp and decide to pick on it. So it's been camouflaged, but it's got that tarp over it. So you have to get a bit closer to check out what's inside.
Okay.
Do you want to make a stealth roll for that? I assume you're.
Yeah. Well, what I want to do is just rip the tarp off very quickly, but in a way that I'm not being dumb about it. But I don't know if that's possible. I mean, I don't know if there's really a need for, in all seriousness, if there's really a need for me to be stealthy, but this is D&D, so it's kind of like, well, there's a thing there. Something's probably going to happen, right?
Turn up the intimidation dial to a 12. Okay.
So yes, out of slight paranoia, I'm going to try to. Well, I rolled a 7 total for stealth, so
You
that's
rolled a
probably out the
7?
window anyway.
Did you add your modifiers and stuff? You like rolled a 2?
Yes. Oh
Wow.
well. Oh wait, no, sorry.
I rolled a 7, but I have a plus 50 to my stealth, so you know.
No, sorry, I missed. Sorry, a 10.
A 10. Okay. Yeah, you do have inspiration if you want to use it on sneaking up to that thing, but that's
I mean, I don't see that as necessary yet. I mean,
that
unless
was Dave being paranoid. He kind of
unless there's a
feels like
dragon.
something's gonna happen, you know.
It feels like something's going to happen, so I'm just playing into the. I'm kind of
The
hoping nothing
paranoia.
happens, and that way it's an epic, slow build up to like I pull it away, and there's just like nothing there. Okay, just tell me what happens. Do I die or not?
I'll roll for it just a second. Okay.
Come
So
on.
you get closer to this thing, and you pull off the tarp, and you see a bunch of supplies in the back of this wagon. Obviously, some of it was taken, but there's a number of barrels and crates and some loose things like clothing. So it's there's still a lot of stuff in the back there, but you felt something weird on your foot. And I say that in the most literal way because, you know, you're sort of sloshing through the mud here. You know, it's coming up, you know, pretty high on your calves. And you stepped on something solid in the mud. And then it sort of moved. And we should roll initiative real quick because, you know.
Of course. $18.
I like Dave's response. We see the wagon, kill it with fire. It was a perfect response. Brad's coming in strong.
I've got my head in my book.
Hey, go check it out. I'll read this right here. You know, don't worry about it.
I like that my initiative actually reflects the fact that I'm the one who felt the thing first. Because my first order of business is to leap out of the mud into the wagon.
You're actually second, you know.
Oh, I'm second. Oh,
yeah. Don't worry. I'll describe what's happening in a second, Michael. We won't kill you outright, you know. We'll just kill you slightly inside, you know. It's the whole point of D&D is to make you not want to play it until tomorrow. All right. So the mud churns underneath of you as this large creature comes out. It's just completely dripping in this mud. Immediately when it comes up, you know, the disbursement of the mud makes you start to go down deeper. So actually I want you to make a dexterity saving throw. And we'll see what happens there. But this thing is going to lurch at you. All right. So you pretty easily you manage to sort of grab hold of the edge of the wagon there and pull yourself out of, and you know, quickly just sort of scramble out onto the wagon. But you get caught in the back by an enormous piece of hard chitin. I think that's the right way you pronounce it. You know, the sort of stuff that insect armor is made out of. Oh, bummer. It's only going to be 3 points of damage when you get hit. But you get hit in the back by this huge, what appears to be in this huge appendage. And Lanera. There we are. I need like approval every time because I'm so bad at. Okay, Lanera, you can see it since you have a better vantage point and you're not actively getting attacked by it. It is a huge scorpion that appears to have been waiting here in the mud. And it looks like it might be hungry. You can kind of see its beady eyes poking out of its mud-smeared body. But what would you like to do in response to this thing?
Let's see, since it is attacking the rogue, I'm gonna. How far away would you say that we are from it at this point?
I would say you're within a move action from it.
Right. So definitely. Go ahead.
You could easily move up to it and hit it
All
if
right.
you want.
Okay, so
25, 30 feet. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make my move up to there, and while doing it, I'm also going to throw one dart at it in the process. Just to maybe get its attention. $13.
So you hit it, but this dart just sort of glances off. You hear the nice sound of scraping as this like metal tip dart hits and scrapes against the armored shell. A section of mud is sort of dragged off by the speed of the dart, but it suffers no damage, no visible damage because of how tough this thing's armor is. And so we will now move on to the man on the cart. Zurum, you just got hit in the back by a giant claw. What would you like to do?
Quick question though. Doesn't he have advantage because she is flanking with him?
I don't think. Does flanking give you advantage? I know it will give him a sneak attack, but does it give you advantage when you're flanking? I don't remember if they still do this.
Yes. Well, I have the sneak attack once per turn. If someone else is distracting it, then I can deal 1d6 damage.
I didn't know that there was an advantage on top of it too.
Well, if you work with flanking, that she's on the other side of it, pulling the attacker. Sorry to pull away from it.
No, it's all right. I'll look up the rule here in a second, but I'm going to say for now, no advantage. You could get advantage if you were to use the help action to help someone else and give them a proper lineup flank. But for now, I'm going to say no advantage, and I'm going to look up the rule in a second. But you do get your sneak attack, Michael. So
okay. So would I still be able to attack if I took any time at all to check if there was anything valuable in the wagon? This is important.
I will give you a quick perception check to see something shiny, but other than that, you're not going to have time to open containers.
Right, of course.
So just give me a quick perception.
I don't want this to take away from my attacking or anything. That's why I'm asking.
No, it's all right if it takes away from your attacking. I don't mind.
No, it's not. Well, then again...
Play the rogue, man. Play the rogue. Okay, sorry. Make your perception.
This is Durham we're talking about. But I have rolled a 21 total for perception.
21. You see something shine and you quickly scoop it up. But it seems like something like a large medallion. But you're not certain at the moment. You probably quickly pocket it. And then, duck as another claw comes over you. And you can make your attack now.
As I make my ensuing attack, I am going to say this had better be worth it. And I will now make my... So, just so I'm clear, how does the sneak attack work? Do I make my attack and then also the sneak attack, or...
So it's your normal attack, but you get the sneak attack damage bonus if you hit because you're flanking.
Okay, gotcha. I will go ahead and attack then with my rapier. So let me... Plus. That is a 17.
17 will hit.
Yes. All right.
You managed to find those weak points between its armor.
Sweet. And so I'm going to go ahead and roll... sorry. 1d8 plus 10, and then plus the... Oh. So tell me if this doesn't sound right, but according to my calculations, I just did 15 points of damage.
Well, what did you roll? Like, so you would have had...
I rolled a 1d8 plus 3 for my rapier, and then I rolled the 1d6 and added it to it.
That could very potentially add up to 15. I don't...
Okay,
depends on
just
what
making
numbers
sure,
you got.
because it sounded a little
can't.
high.
Don't worry,
I'm not used to doing well in combat, Brigham.
Don't worry, it's not too high, Michael. Don't stress yourself. Don't stress your little head.
Good. Oh, good. I'm glad. It sounded high to me.
It sounded high. Well, I mean, you don't want that amount of damage being dealt to you, so...
No. That would kill me.
All right. Dave. I got a bunch of notes that I'm flipping over. Dave, Tolly would actually probably recognize this kind of creature. This thing is known as an acid-born scorpion, and its most deadly attack is when it can spit acid. It's bad enough that it has a stinger and it has claws, but it can shoot projectile acid onto things. So that's definitely something that you would be aware of and would know to avoid. But it's your turn. Do as you wish.
Okay. So Tally is considering how far away from himself the monster is. He's probably, what, 30 feet away from it?
Yeah, you are 30 feet away from it. You're about the same distance as Talia. Same distance as Lanera was. Sorry, working on that.
Okay. So he brings out this small rock. It's a flat rock, and it's kind of a gray, porous rock. And as he starts rubbing it, he starts considering the light of the moon. And with that in mind, he looks up to the sky and hopes for that substance to rain down upon it. So he has range, so he brings down a silvery beam of pale light that shines in a 5-foot radiance down on this the scorpion. It needs to make a Constitution saving throw of DC 14.
All right. It's not super great at those, so we'll see how this ends up. Okay, it fails it.
Okay, so it's going to take a total of 17 points of damage.
Ow.
Yeah, 2d10.
Stacking up quick here.
And basically it feels this searing pain as this moonlight is shining down from 40 feet above on this 5-foot radius sphere. And yeah, Tally is concentrating as he's holding this rock, And he's more looking at the rock at the moment. He's fascinated by the rock. And that's his movement, his action.
Zurum, watching this all these events unfold, is finally going to shout out to Tally, "Are you like from another planet or something?"
He shouts, "Are you from another planet?
You're telepathic and you can turn into a panther and now you're summoning the moon." I know it's Dungeons and Dragons, but he's just still floored by this.
Yeah, you say, "What are you from another planet?" And then you get backhanded by a scorpion claw. And you're going to take 10 points of damage.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
I can't tell.
I rolled max damage on that. But this thing is going to quickly turn around, sort of churning in the mud. It's going to turn to you, Lorraine. It's getting beamed right now, but you hear it make this sort of like a deep guttural sound. And I want you to make a quick dexterity saving throw. Lorraine. Did I say Lanera? It's so awful. Did she leave? No, she's still there. I want to say Lorraine for some reason. I don't know why. Lanera. It shouldn't be that hard.
15.
15. All right, yeah. So you managed to get out of most of this, but you're still going to be taking some of it. As this thing spews acid in your general direction, and the acid quickly sort of gets churned into the mud, making the whole thing sort of steam. It's going to be 2 points of acid damage. Not that bad. All right. Brad, you managed to get your nose out of the book as things have started to go boom. So what would you like to do?
Yeah, I just imagine if this is still going on, he's got his face in his book, and he's Tally, you might be interested in this. Have you seen the Great Oak of Merhai? This is a great depiction. And he looks up and he sees the scorpion, and he sort of drops the book into the mud and freezes for a second before his fist begins to glow with a fiery tinge to it before sort of bursting into a full sphere of fire around his hand, and he just slings it at this bad boy like a baseball pitch. So he's using a firebolt, I believe it's called. Yeah, firebolt. So
nice.
That's a 16 to hit.
16 to hit. That will definitely hit.
Okay. One damage, baby.
Oh yeah, racking in the big numbers.
Big old one.
This firebolt you shoot, it kind of fizzes and it hits against the armor. It's kind of like chars some of the mud that's there, but does not do a whole lot to this guy. All right. Back over.
So I'll just say then after that I'll just try and get some cover behind like a tree or something.
Yeah, backing up a bit. Okay, so Lanera, you just ducked out of the way of this acid splash. You saw your buddy you've spent a little bit of time with, Zoram, get knocked off of the cart from a backhanded claw. What would you like to do?
Well, I'm going to, at this point, I don't think it'd be a good idea for unarmed if I can avoid it. So I'm going to go after it with a short sword.
Always like them short swords.
Let's see. So 24.
24 will definitely hit. That's an easy hit.
So 9 points of damage.
9 points of damage. Yeah, that's a solid one. Okay. So yeah, this thing you punch in. You not punch in. You cut in with your sword, finding another one of those weak joints. You actually manage to sever its tail off as you hit it. You know, the thing falls over and has that sort of like the muscles have a nervous reaction and it all tightens up and then it goes loose and starts sinking a little bit into the mud. Micheal, Zorm just got backhanded off of the cart. What would you like to do?
You're muted.
Yeah, you're muted. We're having a hard time, Micheal. It's the classic D&D error.
You're still muted.
He is just talking away.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It was the most epic description ever. We just
Take 2.
He was warming up his voice.
Jeez. Okay. Okay, take 2 on my you'll never know what that beautiful description was. Actually, that was mainly me pointing out that when you first said, Brigham, that I was backhanded by the scorpion, I thought you were joking. But then I realized slowly that you weren't, and that I really did take those 10 points of damage. And so I think that is essentially been Zurum's attitude, is that when he got backhanded, he didn't really believe what had just happened, and didn't really believe that when he landed face first in the mud with very bad lacerations and some whiplash in his neck that has left him reeling at 2 points of health, because he doesn't have a lot of health. He wasn't quite sure if it really happened, but now he is quite sure. So his goal right now, let's see. They've gotten in some good hits, and the would he have advantage right now because of the tail getting cut off and everything?
No, not at the moment.
Yeah, but I would still get the sneak attack and everything.
Yeah, because you're being there's flanking involved. It's slightly distracted.
Yeah. I'm just trying to decide whether or not I'm actually going to risk getting in there. Yeah, actually, I want to get back at this scorpion, so I am running forward to hit it again with my rapier. And maybe that wasn't a good idea because oh well, maybe 10?
10. Yeah, you like hit an air pocket or something underneath
Gosh,
the ground, and you sink a little bit, and it messes up your swing. And there's that nice clatter as your rapier vibrates after hitting this thing's hard shell.
Yeah, and I mutter to myself, "Why must I be so heroic all the time?"
So funny that the rogue would be the one saying that.
Yes,
it's great.
Like, why can't I be more black-hearted? Why can't I be more duplicitous?
All right. The moonbeam seems to have worked well, Tali. But this thing is still kicking, if just barely. What would you like to do?
Is this Tally?
Yeah.
It has not moved, so it needs to do another saving throw.
Yep. Gotcha.
So
what
it
is
DC 14.
Okay, it makes
DC
it this
14.
Time. Yeah. It makes it this time.
Okay, so it's 11 damage. Half of that rounded up or down. It's your call.
Down, I think, is the typical standard. So.
All right, so 5 points of damage.
It's still something.
Yep.
Every bit helps.
And because he hasn't moved, the moonbeam, all it is a concentration. So that's constant.
You can cast another one.
Yep. So you see out of his left hand, he begins swirling this green ichor substance, and he kind of rears back similarly to Versailles and throws this sticky substance, and he has to make a DC 14 con save.
Yeah, it fails that one.
Okay, so with that one, he takes 11 points of poison damage. Probably resistant to poison because it's poison, but it's poison spray.
Yeah, so this thing, gets hit with this, and it, splashes all over it. It's not feeling good. It's starting to look like it's going to retreat, and that's what it does. Is it starts sort of churning, half like digging through the mud, trying to get away from you guys. Vaughn, Micheal, you guys can get a opportunity attack if you would like to take advantage of that, as this thing is trying to skedaddle.
Yes, I would. 12?
12 does not hit.
Okay.
19.
19 will definitely hit.
And another 9 points of damage.
Yeah. So this thing is like half buried in the mud, and you jump on top of it and stab down, and you find something important in there, and it kind of stops halfway in its scuttering and just dies like half buried in the mud.
Whoo! Our halflings, ladies and gentlemen. They've slain the beast. They killed it with moonlight.
Oh.
And as it ends,
and a short sword. Let's get it right.
Yes, that is correct. They moonbeams and sharp beams, metal beams.
Tally is very interested in this rock as he wipes his hand across it and puts it back in his pouch. But he runs up there and he jumps on top of it as he begins to, with his dagger, start trying to carve the thing open so that we can cook it.
Yeah, Versailles' back is still against the tree, and he just yells out, "Is it gone? Is it gone?"
And Zurim is Zurim is going to attack it again, because he hasn't realized it's dead yet. He gets a 7, so that's a miss. He's going to attack it again.
You don't
once
have
again,
to keep rolling. You don't have to keep rolling for this, Micheal. It's all descriptive now.
Not quite that exasperated. He's not quite that, but he is kind of like, I want to kill this thing.
And at that point, Tally's like holding his hand up, like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? It's time to eat, fillet this thing."
Lanera looks at Tally and says, "I don't think it's edible."
Oh, my lady, this is some of the best eats you've had in this kingdom.
Zurim is giving Tally the weirdest look. He's just like, how dare you imply that I'm the crazy one here? But
and then And then I look at Zerum and go, you know, you don't have to continuously try to chop at it either. It is dead. Boys.
I do wipe off my sword or my rapier rather dutifully at this, and I'm like, yes, of course. It is dead. Good job. Good job, everyone. And I will then attempt to exit the mud and promptly trip and fall over for good measure. What's the medallion thing? Or should I check that later? I didn't know if anyone else had anything. I didn't know what Brad's reaction to all of this was.
Yeah. So taking this out, it's a pretty ornate medallion. It's large. It's about as big as your hand. It's not obviously not meant to be like worn like a necklace. But it's in the shape of a very ornate shield. And you looking over it, it seems to be very well crafted. I mean, it's made mostly out of steel. But it looks nice.
Can I do a history check on it?
Oh,
actually, an arcane check would be nice if you want to do that.
Okay. Yep.
While he's doing that, I would like to just point out for good. I mean, we've already pointed it out, but I was just finally realizing that Vaughn is responsible for the most epic hits, most visceral hits on the creature. I blanked on the fact that you did cut off its tail, which is now lying there. So you were the most savage fighter out of all of us. I just think that's kind of interesting. Anyway, sorry.
So I got a 15 Arcana.
Yeah, you've maybe seen one of these things before. It's been a while, but you recognize it as a type of magical shield. Usually, it was used by some casters and things like that. But it functions like the like animated shield from the DMG. When it activates, it can temporarily sort of gain consciousness and act as a deflector against oncoming attacks for, I think, about a minute. I don't know what the exact stats are. Have you look it up later.
And I'm imagining that this Arcana check was performed after I had turned and tripped and fell in the mud again, but my hand was holding the medallion, and I held it up desperately from the mud. So all of me is in the mud.
Yes. While you're like submerged, I just walk over and grab it out of your hand and have a look at it.
Well, my hand is desperately holding it up, and you snatch it, and I lift my head up, and I'm like, "You filthy hypocrite!"
Actually, you look rather. I think it looks good on you. That sort of mud bath look. I'm down with it. And Tally reaches down and pulls some mud up and puts it on his face.
On my face or his face?
His face. It's the druid thing.
It's a druid thing. It's a common thing that the druids do, you know, the mud baths, you know.
Yes, and I'm giving you that look again, that very strange look, but it's a bit milder now and somewhat bemused.
You need a wand of prestidigitation, right?
Linera looks at Tally and goes, "What are you doing? That looks like fun." Gets some mud, starts to do the same thing.
Yeah, come on.
Everyone avoid the portion of the mud that was mixed with acid, okay? Please just don't go near that.
And actually, Tally, if you don't mind, he actually cautions them to that. But he's like, Put the mud on your face. It helps. We're out in the wild.
And then Versailles just looks at Talia and just says, "No, thank you."
Your loss. Your loss. This region alone provides so much healing to the spirit. Okay? You're missing out. I mean, I think that we're all starting to feel it at this point. And he just kind of puts his head back and feels the wonder of nature.
I'm leaning my head back as I've rolled over in the mud at this point, so now all of me is covered in mud, and I'm just lying in the mud like I'm floating on my back, and I'm kind of like, yeah, actually, I think I kind of do feel it a little bit. You
see, Durham feels it.
You hear that?
Okay.
You're making fun of me, but I'm feeling the mud therapy here.
You are elves. Get in touch with your roots.
Yeah, you see like a frog pop out of the mud next to your head, Durham. Like, looks at you blankly, like, "What are you doing here in my mud? You know, this is my space. You like sat on me, man. I'm gonna go the other way." You know, he, like, hops off. You guys are like rolling around in the mud.
We're so weird. We're all so weird.
You just got Versailles sitting there looking down on everyone like.
Yeah, I think when Tally says you're an elf, sort of get back to your roots, Versailles would just say, "Well, I'm half human, and the human side of me does not like mud baths."
I think Zerum is going to attempt to drag him into the mud with me.
Nope.
I think I'm doing this.
Let go of me.
No? Do I need to roll for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, here. I don't know.
Well,
okay.
Opposed strength check or?
Yeah, opposed strength checks.
I have rolled a total of 14.
Use your
natural 20.
Oh. Do you want to add any flourishes onto that? Onto your resistance?
No, I think as you try to pull me down, the mud on your hands just sort of slips. It causes your hands to slip, and you just fall backwards back into the mud again.
Oh, good. Wonderful.
Maybe I get a little bit of a splash of mud on me after you've fallen back into it.
Oh. So, Versailles, as you sort of look up from this, probably get yourself a little bit of distance away from Zurum. Don't want to be too close to that. You notice that there's a group of people sort of at the edge of this muddy bogged area, looking by with amusement. And as the rest of you sort of notice this, those who have had any involvement with the caravan would recognize one individual. This man, Robert, as he's usually called. Some know him as Unsavory because he'd be your contact, Micheal. But not all know him for this. He's pretty discreet. But he's got this group of people. They obviously came back for the wagon, but they're just sitting there looking at you guys like they've just got these like grins on their faces like, "Oh, what a bunch of idiots rolling around in the mud." And
we're a bunch of idiots who just killed a giant scorpion. We are bathing in the blood of our enemies.
Yeah, and Tally actually looks up at them with this completely mud-ridden face, and as he smiles, you see his white teeth gleaming through and his bright eyes, and he's just having the time of his life. Playing in the mud like a kid.
Oh. I call out. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, are we seeing this Robert fellow sort of walking towards us, or is he just sort of in the distance we can see him?
He's at the edge of the mud. So he's not walking. He's clearly visible. He's in the part of the mud that does not sink up to his knees. And he's just sort of watching by for a second with the rest of his men that are with him that came to retrieve this wagon. He just kind of smiles and laughs and bunch of hippies.
Well, hello, Robert. Would you like to join us?
And he just sort of cracks that Robert smile that he tends to have. The reason why he's a very charismatic guy, and he has this big smile that people tend to like. And he shakes his head. Well, if you're done frolicking, maybe you can help me with the wagon. And we're going to actually end the session here, but we're going to have a brief change of venues. We're going to zoom a bit farther away in a dark corner of the jungle where a acid-born scorpion is scuttling nervously through a ruin. It's looking left and right, trying to avoid something that's following it. And it scuttles into another room, and it sees the rest of its family all strung up in webs. And we're going to end the session there.
Well, there we go.
Awesome.
Yep, it's been fun. Like I said, we're going to have another 2 more sessions, I think, after this. When those will be, we're not sure. I know it's at least going to be a week or 2. But I am Bflummy, your insane host who can't pronounce names to save my life. And we're going to do some quick sign-offs. We'll start with you, Brad. Anything you want to say, I guess?
Well, I've got nothing to plug, but I'll just say thanks to yourself and all the guys for the game. Looking forward to the next session for sure. Getting further and further into the jungle and the story, and looking forward to slinging more fire at stuff and get more than 1 damage.
Hopefully that's the goal in the future. All right, Dave.
Hey folks, I'm Dave with Mornblade Gaming, and as always, it's been fun playing with these folks, especially have played with these 3 gentlemen before, but first time playing online with my lovely wife, Yvonne, and I actually met these folks, these 3 gentlemen, at least Brigham and Brad, through Absolute Tabletop. So if you haven't checked it out, it's well worth your time. Absolute Tabletop official group on Facebook. A lot of really good inspirational ideas, but I am definitely looking forward to part 2 and 3 of this. Probably, at least by the time maybe not session 2, but session 3, Brad is going to have bling on his left hand between now and then. So we'll have to see. So I'm looking forward to that. Me being a married man of over 25 years, so congratulations on your first step.
Thank you.
Michael, you're muted, but it's your turn.
I was so slow on the draw of realizing, oh, I suddenly understand what that means. Congratulations, Brad.
I went immediately to the dragon arm, and I'm like so confused.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I assumed he was referring to the dragon arm. I'm like, oh, okay. They must know something to do with that. Congratulations, Brad. Congratulations. Anyway, I'm Michael Pierce. I have a channel. I talk about personality theory and philosophy and stuff. and it is always fun to get back with these guys, kick back and play some D&D and role playing. So it's been really good.
All right, Yvonne, I got that right?
You got it right.
I listened very closely to Dave for like 3 minutes there. All right, go for your outro.
All right, so still don't have anything on my channel. Still, but it's not all about having things on your channel. I had a wonderful time, even though it doesn't seem like it. I went back and forth because of my dog, but I had a really good time. It was great to be able to be the killer of a scorpion, because we have them here in Arizona, and they're nasty little buggers. And so I look forward to the next couple of sessions. It's going to be fun. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's nice to have you. My my original D&D group had it was 2 boys and 3 girls, and it was a great dynamic. And I miss that dynamic. It's not often you find it for some reason. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you are watching, like I said, if you liked what you saw here, I would suggest checking out Bite of Extinction. It was another one-shot that I ran with most of these people. But look forward in the future for the next session, and have fun with whatever you're doing. And I'm going to end the podcast now. I feel so awkward doing this.